Kwani nikaa umjui?
Ni kama simjui lakini najua utanieleza baadaye.
Mimi mwanaume kuna vitu mingi wanafaa kusort. Na chapa yote umetumia lazima ndakurudishia.
Zigi no.
Hii story tumemaliza.
Jenny, you're pretty good.
You really haven't improved at all, Piggy.
What did you call me? Who told you that name?
Well, that's good.
But we really can't get lost again.
Yeah, I know.
So I was thinking, if something happened to you, I could help. Oh my, what clothes are you wearing? Lover's clothes? They're so ugly. What?
I have to be honest. I'm not sure how much longer I can hide this.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. My name is Victor Lo. This is KBC Channel 1. The show on air right now is Good Morning Kenya. The date is 27th day of February 2023. We are closely coming to the end of the month. How was your weekend? Now, later on in the program, I'll be joined by Kevin Katisia, who is the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui. I have got Dunstan Mungatana, who is a Tana River County Senator, as well as Martin Olo, who is a political commentator and analyst. We want to take a look at what happened over the weekend. Raila's call, the Kenya Kwanza call for Raila's sanction by the West not to travel across the world is gaining traction. There is that story of LGBTQ. The church also spoke, civil society spoke, and many Kenyans continue to speak about it. President William Ruto was in the coast region over the weekend. What did he have for the people in his basket? We'll be talking much more and that later on in the program. Welcome. I'm Victor Lo. Doreen.
Yes, and even as the war on banditry continues to intensify, there will be no herding of livestock using firearms. That is the latest directive from the president. This is said yesterday in Lamu County, even as this war continues to intensify. As we speak, slightly above 20 firearms have already been surrendered. This is just after that KDF was deployed in support of the police in those areas. Moreover, later on in the show, on our Family Check segment, we look at career and motherhood, what this portends for female. We look at leave days, off days, and just basically what employers are doing out there to aid women as far as their career is concerned, as well as motherhood. That comes away from 9 a.m. Stay put for that. Nonetheless, beautiful morning to you. Always a pleasure to have you on board. This is Good Morning Kenya. Welcome to the program.
We are coming to you live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi, Kenya. Also live on our website, www.kbc.co.ke. is a place where you can be able to engage with us. Our social media handles are up and running. At Victor Lo, at Doreen Arange, at Ram Maguko, which are our handles here on our end. The official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. So engage with us in regards to the conversations that we have lined up for you on this fine Monday morning. My name is Ram Aguko, and of course, we also have on the other side our very own Marie.
Very good morning to you all. While it's Monday, 27th of February, hello and welcome to you joining us here in Nairobi and across the country. It was an eventful weekend with the arrival of the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden, who met women leaders and entrepreneurs. Elsewhere, the opposition, led by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party leader, that is Raila Odinga, traversed the western region in rallies pushing for the government to address the high cost of living, while insecurity displaces 300 families from their homes in Samburu County. Details in the news this morning. A very good morning to you. This is Good Morning Kenya. I'm Marie Yambo. So we head straight into the news, where President William Ruto has committed to commercialize Lamu Port and expand the Mombasa Port with the aim of multiplying its revenue. Speaking in Lamu, the head of state said the port has the potential of generating 100 billion shillings annually, up from the current 30 billion shillings. President Ruto also promised to install fish landing facilities from Mokowe to Vanga at a cost of 3 billion shillings. Kevin Washira kicks our first report.
President William Ruto has been the coast region rolling out his development plans, including the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone, as well as engaging communities on the need to exploit the blue economy. Speaking at an interdenominational service at Mokowe, Lamu, the head of state committed to boost the productivity of Lamu Port, which currently generates 30 billion shillings, to generate 100 billion shillings annually.
Tuhakikishe ya kwamba vile tuna develop Mombasa ndivyo tuna develop Lamu Port, na tuko na soko kubwa ya Lamu Port kwa sababu tunataka kuunganisha Lamu na South Sudan pamoja na Ethiopia vile ilikuwa imepangwa as a lapsed corridor.
The president explained his plan to invest 3 billion shillings in setting up fish landing ports along the coast, where value addition will be done before selling the fish.
Tumekuja na shilingi milioni 50 ya hawa beach management committees ya hapa Lamu, na hiyo ni awamu ya kwanza. Tumepanga karibu shilingi bilioni 3 ya hiyo kazi ya kuhakikisha kwamba wale wavuvi wote, na tunataka tuwasaidie ili wawe na mbinu mpya, wawe na vifaa mpya, tuhakikisha kwamba ile rasilimali tuko nayo hapa katika bahari tunaitumia kukuza uchumi wetu na kuhakikisha kwamba tuko na chakula ya kutosha.
The president also committed to deliver his promise of settling the squatters in Lamu County by acquiring lands from absentee landlords.
Captain Rueda, usikuwe na wasiwasi ya kwamba pengine wale walipiga kura namna hii, sijui walipiga kura namna gani. Wakenya wote wanalipa ushuru, na mimi nitahakikisha kwamba tunashughulikia Wakenya wote bila ya ubaguzi.
The national government will work with county governments in setting up industrial and aggregation parks where farmers store their produce, awaiting favorable markets.
Now, Kenya needs $500 million, approximately 63 billion shillings, to mitigate the current drought. The First Lady of the United States, that is Dr. Jill Biden, is therefore calling for collaboration of global partners to address the crisis.
The little village of Losait in Kajiado County played host to the First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, who is in the country, among others, to assess the food security situation in Kenya. The First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, will interact with the residents, listening to their challenges, and later called for collaboration of global partners to cushion those affected.
But we cannot be the only ones. We need to have other countries join us in this global effort to help these people of the region. And unfortunately, you know, there's the war in Ukraine, there's the earthquake in Turkey. I mean, there are a lot of competing interests. But obviously, here people are actually, livestock people are starving.
The U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, underscored her sentiments, painting a picture of the situation in the ground.
Malnutrition, we heard a story of a woman who thought her children were okay. She took them, and all of them were diagnosed with malnutrition.
Dr. Stephen Jackson, the UN resident coordinator, says $500 million is needed to mitigate the situation in 2023 alone.
We think that there are going to be 6 million people in Kenya in need of urgent life-saving assistance in 2023. This is the 6th rainy season that will fail in March, if that's what happens.
World Vision National Director Gilbert Kamanga also pointed to an increased rate of school dropout due to drought.
Ensuring that children remain in school by providing school feeding programs, but also building dormitories for the children.
For JSS student, junior secondary schooling, has had a dismal, about only 50% of the learners reporting to school.
Over the past 6 months, we've been implementing a program we call Lisha Jamii, which is providing cash transfers of 6,500 shillings.
The residents who were elated by the visit of the U.S. First Lady, hoping that a solution to the perennial drought can be found.
Tulikuwa tunalisha mambo ya ng'ombe na sasa ng'ombe imeisha. Sasa tunangoja, tunaomba Mungu atusaidie.
And we have hope that she will do more in our lands.
The current drought situation has been ongoing for the past 3 years, with the situation made worse by persistent consecutive seasons of failed rains. With the visit of the First Lady of the United States, Tungata Tayek, here in Kajiado County, the residents now only hope that the globe will now turn its focus and give lasting solutions to the drought situation. Serafina Robi from Kajiado County.
Thank you, Serafina Robi, for that report. Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition has criticized the government for the creation of more public offices, saying this presented an extra burden to taxpayers. This comes days after the High Court ruled that the Chief Administrative Secretary position was constitutional, allowing for the expansion of the executive. Wycliffe Okech reports from Trans Nzoia County.
The Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition took its public consultative forum to Trans Nzoia County on Sunday, kickstarting the day's activities with a church service at Christ the King Mitume Catholic Church. Here, Odinga told the congregation to remain steadfast and fasten their seatbelts, saying the journey to Canaan was on course. The leaders then held a public forum in Kitale town where calls on the government to work on the cost of living dominated the speeches.
Kenya Kwanza must be forced to direct all resources towards making life livable for all our citizens. That we support the demands for immediate reduction of the prices of basic commodities and services, including unga, sugar, petrol, diesel, paraffin, transport fare, and school fees.
Tunasema pesa ya Kenya itumike kufanya yale maneno italetea Wakenya faida, lakini sio mambo ya kubinafsisha mali ya Wakenya.
The beckoning formation of the electoral body IEBC also finding its way in the remarks.
We support calls to stop Kenya Kwanza regime from single-handedly picking the new commissioners of the IEBC and ensure the exercise is done in consultation with other players and stakeholders.
Haiwezekani ikiwa wewe ni referee, huwezi kuwa your own referee in your own court. This is why wakati moja kulikuwa na IPPG, Interparliamentary Group, ambayo ilisema hata watu wakati wa upinzani na waliokuwa mamlakani wakatoa watu ambao walisimamia na kutoa makamishna ambao walisimamia uchaguzi. This is why 2002 was just the most democratic election.
The judiciary also got its share of the criticism by the opposition leaders who claimed the CAS position was an extra burden to taxpayers.
Wamepanga vibaraka vyao, watu walianguka kura hapa kina Chris Wamalwa ati wanaenda kupatiwa chief administrative secretaries, wanaenda kulipa bilioni 2 kila mwaka. Bilioni 2 tunaweza kuchukua mahasla milioni 2 hapa, tuwapatie kila mtu kazi, tumulipe 1,000.
The leaders who accompanied Odinga maintained their support for the opposition chief. They, however, criticized Governor George Natembeya for what they alluded as going against his sponsor party. Odinga has maintained that no force, whether internal or external, will deter his push for electoral and economic reforms, even as he urges the government to work towards alleviating.
Weekly for Cage reporting there from Trans Nzoia County. Now, at least 300 families have been displaced from their homes and 3 schools closed indefinitely over recent attacks in Lekik-Sabuk area of Samburu County, where suspected armed bandits killed 3 people, among them an area chief. Samburu West Member of Parliament Naisula Lesuda has condemned the attacks, calling on the government to use all tactics to restore peace in the region in order to give residents a chance to engage in gainful economic activities and allow children to return to school. Tension remains high in areas hard hit by the attacks, making it difficult for most families to return to their homes. Ben Chumba reports.
More than 300 families displaced by bandit attacks at Lekik-Sabuk area of Samburu County are reluctant to return home, even after more security officers were sent to the affected areas.
Sisi tuko na shida kubwa sana ambayo hata hatujui nani atasuluhisha hiyo shida yetu. Sisi tumetoroka, tuko kwa hii kasenta kidogo, hatuna chakula, hatuna ng'ombe.
Hakuna mahali unaishi, uliacha kila kitu huko. Your properties destroyed na bandits, na pia wamechukua mali yote, so tumebaki kama hatuna chochote.
In a move to avert a possible humanitarian crisis in their camps, Samburu West Member of Parliament Naisula Lesuda visited the refugees at Loibongare camp in Losuk Ward and gave them relief food.
They've left their homes, they've left their farms, they are hungry, they are living now in centers, and that is why, as their Member of Parliament, through my own contribution, I was able to bring some food for them and also some well-wishers. I really want to thank them who have reached out.
Lesuda urged the government to restore normalcy in the region.
What I would just like to request of them is that it be continuous. It cannot be a one-day affair, so that we may have total peace in this area, and also the other security issues that we have around here to be tackled, so that people can go back home, children can go back to school, and people can go back to their farms.
Tension remains high in areas hard hit by the attacks, with Pora, Sepei and Lekek Puki schools in Samburu West closed indefinitely.
Watoto wako kwa shule, wanatambaa tu tuko pamoja nao. Na ile shule watoto wako hakuna mtu anaweza kukaa hapo na mtoto yake aende hiyo shule. Hiyo shule ni shule nyingine mbaya sana iko ndani ya wadui.
And it's very unfortunate because these children will be behind in their studies. I really hope that peace will be restored here so that the children can go back to school.
Meanwhile, border police officers want the government to issue them with new and sophisticated guns to effectively deal with terrorists along the country's borders. Speaking in Makueni during the funeral of Fidel Kimuyu, a border guard officer who is among 3 officers who died after their car stepped on a landmine in Garissa County, Border Police Deputy Commander Isaac Lima said Parliament should ensure border officers get the latest model of weapons.
Inastahili ile ndaka waje tupewe hiyo silaha. Kwa sababu ukienda zile nchi zimeendelea, ukitembea na gari inakwambia hapo mbele 50 meters kuna kitu imewekwa chini. Hata sisi Kenya tuko na hiyo uwezo, tukisaidiwa nao viongozi wetu. Kwa hivyo ni maombi yetu tupewe silaha ya kutosha. Sisi wenyewe tuko tayari kupambana.
Boda yetu ya Kenya ile hatari sana ni sisi na Somalia. Pia wanajeshi wakuwe pale, na niko na hakika wako na hiyo equipment wanajeshi. Wasaidiane na afisa wetu. Tumepoteza mwingine jana ambaye anatoka Machakos, na sasa tunaambia serikali hatutangoja kupoteza mwingine.
Huwezi tuma mtu aende kazi na ile silaha umempatia ni mwili yake. Hiyo lazima tukosane sana. Na si kusema serikali ndio imefanya mabaya sana, lakini lazima tuangalie tukifanya budgeting, priority ni nini? Hatuwezi tuma watu waende watuchunge pale ili sisi tulime na tunawatuma bila ile silaha inaitikana ili wapate protection.
The Supreme Court judgment that allowed the LGBTQ to form association continues to draw sharp criticism from various quarters in the country. A section of the clergy and politicians now said they will petition the Apex Court for constitutional interpretation on whether the decision legalizes homosexuality in the country.
This ruling is not only repugnant but also despicable, sinful, immoral, and against acceptable Kenyan culture and natural order.
A section of the clergy has strongly condemned Friday's verdict by the top court judges that ruled that the non-governmental organization Coordination Board's decision to bar homosexuals from forming recognized groups was discriminatory, saying this is divisive for Kenyans.
We now have given a door to liberal judges to make law for 50 million Kenyans through their rulings, even when they are obviously subversive.
Led by the Evangelical Conference chairman Bishop David Oginde, the leaders say this decision could open up doors for homosexuality and same-sex marriages in Kenya.
We wish to wholeheartedly condemn the ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya and the majority judges in this ruling, since their decision opens a door to presumed homosexual objects and purposes that are outlawed by the Penal Code, including same-sex marriages.
They called on Kenyans to remain firm and defend their faith, even as they petitioned the Attorney General regarding the matter.
We therefore, number one, petition the Attorney General to immediately invoke the advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court on matters of general and national importance to seek an advisory opinion on the broader concerns around the promotion of LGBTQ rights.
On Friday, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, Justice Smokin Wanjala and Justice Njoki Ndongo ruled in favor of the petition, with Justice Mohammed Ibrahim and Justice William Ouko dissenting, stating that homosexuals should not be allowed to form recognized associations in the country. The decision, which is a win for the members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer LGBTQ, gives them the power to seek formal recognition by the Non-Governmental Organizations Coordination Board.
Thank you, Troy Njoeda, reporting. The government has reaffirmed its commitment to support reconstruction of the multi-million shillings beach resorts and businesses recently razed down by the fire at Watamu in Kilifi County. The Ministry of Tourism plans to begin compensating small traders before assisting resort owners.
Traders in Watamu who lost millions of shillings in property in a recent fire that gutted down their businesses at Mbuyu Lodge, Mapango, SDA Church Resort and Barakuda Beach Resort have a reason to smile after the government pledged to help them in reconstruction.
Tafanya kazi, wameweza kutuelezea insurance, watu insurance wanaendelea kushughulika, lakini upande wa serikali tutashirikiana nao tuone vile tunaweza kuwasaidia.
Tourism Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza, speaking when she toured the affected resort, said the government would assist them get back on their feet.
Kuna vibanda za wamama walikuwa wanauza pale nje, wameweza kuchomekewa. Wamama hawako kwa hizi association za hoteliers, hawajajiregister pale.
The CS said that they would begin with small-scale traders who had curio kiosks near Mbuyu Resort and then look for ways to support resorts in reconstruction.
Wakati tunashirikiana na hao managers na wenye hizi hoteli kubwa, pia tutashughulikia wale wamama wako pale. Kwangu ndio nitaanza nao siku ya leo. Wenye mahoteli pia nao tutahakikisha tuko na kikao katika ile association yao, tuone vile tutawasaidia kulingana na ile mipango yao wako nayo.
She was accompanied by Kilifi North MP Owen Baya, who told residents to safeguard the tourism sector as it was their main source of income.
Tuchunge hii utalii, hii ndio rasilimali yetu, hii ndio kahawa yetu, hii ndio chai yetu. Ama mnasemaje? Sasa utalii ikiharibika hapa Watamu, nyinyi tutaenda wapi? Mimi nimemleta waziri hapa hususan tuhakikishe kwamba tumejenga kwa haraka.
I really appreciate that they are here. It means that they're really taking care about the tourism. This is the most important moment maybe in the tourism life in Watamu.
One of the owners of the affected resort said they were planning to reopen in December due to the extensive damage, but with a boost in reconstruction efforts, they could do it sooner.
Twaomba msaada tusaidiwe na sisi hapa, mali yetu yote imeenda na maji na
tangu hoteli chomeke ni kuhangaika tu, hakuna chochote, hakuna wageni. Tukija tukae hapa turejee manyumbani, hatuna chochote.
Tumetegemea hii hoteli kulisha watoto wetu, kuwapeleka shule, mahitaji yote tunapata kutokana na hapa Barakuda.
Last Wednesday, property worth millions of shillings was reduced to ashes after a huge fire gutted down 3 resorts in Watamu tourism resort town of Kilifi County. The cause of the fire could not be immediately ascertained.
Period poverty remains one of the biggest challenges facing teenage girls, especially in rural areas, due to inability to afford sanitary pads. This challenge is said to be one among other factors contributing to teenage pregnancies. And while the government provides the products to girls in schools, those out of school, perhaps due to lack of fees or a neglected lot, Kamcha Mensa caught up with some of these girls who became teen mothers after being allured into sexual activities in order to access sanitary towels.
Sharon, not her real name, is an 18-year-old teen mother from Kisumu. When her parents died, she was forced to drop out of school and subsequently could not access sanitary towels.
Rafiki yangu msichana mwingine akaniambia, we unakaa tu hivyo huwezi pata hata pocket. Sasa alinijidanganya nikuwe na boyfriend. Alafu kujaribu tu hivyo nikapata mimba.
Josephine, also not her real name, is now 18 years. She too became a teen mother at the age of 15.
But after my dad died, I couldn't manage to get anything sababu mamangu pia alikuwa mgonjwa. Sasa mambo ya kupata chakula hata hizo pads ilikuwa ngumu. Sasa nikaamua kutafuta boyfriend. So boyfriend akanipea mimba.
Though they used to receive sanitary towels while at school, the situation changed after dropping out of school due to lack of school fees.
Sasa kupata pads lazima ukue na boyfriend ndiye anaweza kukupea pesa. Nilijaribu kutumia rags. Na rag ilikuwa aibu. Hata inaweza anguka. Sasa hiyo ndo nilimake decision. Sasa nipate boyfriend kanaweza feel at least.
Their ordeals are just but a few among many others that go untold. A non-governmental organization that has so far given safe spaces to Sharon and Josephine indicates that despite the tax exemption on sanitary pads, accessing them is still a challenge.
It's a call to action to our leaders to ensure that as we allocate resources, to ensure that we are setting aside resources that will help ensure that our girls and women in and out of school are able to access these products.
Nominated Senator for Women Affairs Gloria Orwoba, who is pushing a motion at the Senate to legislate for adequate provision of sanitary towels to schoolgirls, says the allocation of 5 to 7 packets per girl a whole year is insufficient.
Every month you're using a minimum of 2 packets. If you do the math, we are barely getting to the point where we are saying that we are giving access to that. So I'm also trying to see how is it that we can legislate around that.
Stigma associated with menstrual cycle has also seen a number of girls lack the confidence to seek help when in need.
Most men have not been getting it easy to have a discussion with the girls or the female gender on aspect of to do with sexual reproductive health. So we empower these men and try to capacity build them for them to have those healthy talks with their children.
If the boys also understand that this is a normal thing and they become part of the conversation and they become part of the support system that we put around our girls during this, I would say, very confusing and difficult times of puberty when they are going through the whole menstruation thing, then we remove the issue of shame. Yes. We remove the issue of stigma.
Well, that story brings us to a fast break on Good Morning Kenya. I'll be back with more, including sports, in just a short moment.
pretty good.
You really haven't improved at all, Piggy.
What did you call me? Who told you that name?
Well, that's good.
But we really can't get lost again.
Yeah, I know.
So I was thinking, if something happened to you, I could help. Oh my, what clothes are you wearing? Lover's clothes? They're so ugly. What?
I have to be honest. I'm not sure how much longer I can hide this.
I can't believe a priest uses his hands to cross himself. Let's go. Hey. Don't you dare hurt her. Don't mistreat her, okay? You said they're only used to cross yourself, okay?
Mother!
You haven't won anything. You wanted to play with fire? Prepare yourself.
Take it easy. You know how the saying goes. The man who doesn't have a woman with him already has all the women in the world. And I'm number one on that list.
And for those who still don't know about it, I want to tell you something that made me very happy. Paru has finally agreed to marry me. Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family. Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Welcome back. Now, a consignment of drugs worth millions of shillings belonging to various public health facilities in Nyandarua County were recovered in a private home at Engineer Town in Kinangop Sub-County. Condemning the incident, Nyandarua Governor Kiari Badilisha said the theft of the drugs compromises delivery of health services to the public, saying this will not be tolerated.
An operation that brought together heads of security agencies and the county government led by Governor Moses Kiarie Badilisha and County Commissioner Amos Mariba said the drugs belonging to Karagatha and Engineer hospitals are said to be stolen from the hospitals and sold at private pharmaceuticals by a medic at one of the facilities.
Immediately we left here, after a week, information came that there were no medicine in our hospitals. Then I wondered what happened. So we started investigation that time. This investigation has taken us 3 months. And we thank God today it's successful. We have been able to net drugs worth millions of shillings inside somebody's bedroom.
His sentiments were echoed by his deputy John Maratha, who urged public hospitals management to account for all drugs in health facilities to curb such incidents.
We are going to put in systems whereby we automate all our health facilities such that we shall monitor the medicines as they come in and out, such that at any given time we'll be able to know how much of our medicines that are delivered in our facilities are remaining.
Elsewhere, Safaricom Foundation, through its Ndoto Zetu initiative, has equipped 2 health centers and 1 secondary school clinic in the counties of Kiambu and Kajiado with equipment in an effort of better handling of emergency cases and reducing the infant mortality rate.
So when the MedSoup approached us about the health facility, we visited, we saw ourselves, and we decided to support. They applied through ndoto zetu and we saw the need and we come in handy to support.
Meanwhile, Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza has given an important update of distribution of the subsidized fertilizer and seed program to commence next week across the county.
Tumeshaanza mipango ya kuleta dawa kwa kuremisala worth milioni 130 tukaleta kwa hospitali zote. 2 weeks ago tumeleta basari milioni 120 na nimesema mwaka ujao itakuwa milioni 240.
Finally, National Environment Management Authority and National Government Administration in Kisii has committed to implementing President Ruto's directive on intensification of tree planting and water sources protection.
Kila mwananchi, kila sehemu tumeweza kupanda miti kuzuia jangwa na kuzuia hali hii mbaya ambayo ni hali ya kiangazi na hali ambayo ya ukame.
We now head to Nigeria, where vote counting, which began on Saturday, is still continuing in Nigeria after voters came out for the general election, with the 3 frontrunners vying to govern Africa's most populous country. A total of 87.2 million people were eligible to vote for the President Muhammadu Buhari's successor, as well as a new vice president and members of the National Assembly at around 176,000 polling stations nationwide. It is expected that the presidential election results will soon be announced.
Saturday's voting was marred by long delays at polling stations, as well as scattered reports of ballot box snatching and attacks by armed men. Turnout appeared to be high, with many young first-time voters arriving before dawn to cast their ballots. A total of 18 political parties nominated their presidential and vice presidential candidates, with the most competitive presidential candidate being Bola Tinubu from the governing All Progressive Congress, Atiku Abubakar from the main opposition People's Democratic Party, and Peter Obi from the Labour Party. The national vote will also elect 109 senators and 360 representatives from the country's 36 states. The government has dispatched more than 530,000 security personnel, including police and soldiers, during the general election to ensure a safe and ordered voting and counting session. Counting of votes took place with staffers working under the supervision of political party representatives and observers to ensure the process goes smoothly.
Now, 2 passengers sustained serious injuries after a light aircraft they were in crashed while attempting to land at Kampi Yasamaki airstrip, Baringo County. The aircraft 5YPEC, which was from Narok, landed on a perimeter wall near Sandai Resort along the shores of Lake Baringo in a mid-morning accident. 2 passengers on board when the accident occurred were rushed to the Marigat Sub-County Hospital for treatment. While confirming the incident, Assistant County Commissioner Charles Gumba said the accident happened at around 10:30 a.m. as the light aircraft was trying to land at the airstrip.
Mimi nimefika hapa wakati imeanguka tu. Tukasaidia kwanza kutoa huyo mzungu mmoja alikuwa ndani. Akapelekwa na gari ameenda market. Mimi nimeumia mkono. Nimeumia mkono hapa nikitoa juu mguu ilikuwa imekaa ndani. So mwili yote tumefuruta lakini mguu ikakataa kutoka. So ni kitu ya kwanza kufanyika hapa. Watu wote wamestuka juu ni kitu ya kwanza kufanyika huku Kamsamagi. Sasa watu wote wamestuka. Na tulikuwa tunahofia huenda italifuka juu tunaogopanga mafuta. So hiyo ndio watu wamestuka kwa sababu hata kusaidia ilikuwa ngumu kwa sababu watu wanaogopa tutasotomeka.
Sasa nasikia mimi sasa pengine wamelipua. Sasa mimi nakakata speed kusongoa nyumba pande ile. Na kijana mwalimu wenzangu ndugu yangu na mchukuu.
The quick response ya machief na OCS wameweza kusecure the scene na wenye kunini kwa ndege wamekimbishwa hospitali na saa hii tunaelezwa wanapata nafuu, na tunashukuru wananchi wa hapa kwa sababu the good cooperation walikuja, hakukuwa na maneno ya kuibaiba vitu kwa ndege, na after wametoa watu wakadisperse.
Well, that's where we end the bulletin this morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. A lot more lined up for you during the day in our subsequent bulletins. I wanted to hand it over right now to Victor Law with Eye on Politics.
All right, thank you so much, Marie. Now, let's get into Iron Politics, but before then, I'll take you through the front page of our local dailies. What I have, I've got 4 papers: the Star, Standard, Daily Nation, and the People Daily. But before then, just to tell you that my guests are already in studio. I have got Kevin Katisia, who is a Speaker of the Kitui County Assembly, already in studio, and Daktari Martin Olo, who is also a political analyst and a governance expert, already in studio. We're expecting Tana River Senator, that is Danso Mukatan, to join us shortly in studio. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, so before we get into it, let me just take you through the front page of our local dailies. Let me start with the Star newspaper. On the front page, Raila boycotts new IEBC selection panel. Raila boycotts new IEBC selection panel. Opposition and Kenya Kwanza would have sent a name to make the full list of 7. And now Azimio has refused to nominate one person to sit on the committee. Raila boycotts new IEBC selection panel. That's what's on the front page of the Star newspaper. Still on the front page, KDF bombs Samburu caves as after bandits kill area chief. That is military choppers have bombed caves believed to be hosting gunmen who had killed 3 policemen in Samburu at the weekend, marking the new confrontation between the bandits and the military there. Inside plan to read in universities of ghost students and staff. University students and staff from public and primary and private universities will now be tracked in the institutions, though it continues to say that through a biometric system, relevant agencies will have to have an up-to-date information on students and staff. The universities fund and has also revealed that there are plans to implement the Higher Education Management Information System, HEMIS. The system, which will cost approximately 48 million shillings, will allow UF to have an accurate number of students to be funded. That is on the front page of this Star newspaper. What's on the Daily Nation? Exposed. Governors' bad spending habits. Exposed. Governors' bad spending habits. On the recurrent spending, for every 1 shilling put into development, we have got Simbarati of Kisii so far spent 99.8 million shillings. I've got Kawira Mwangaza of Meru, 65.6 million shillings. Lamu, East Timami, 38.7 million shillings. Machakos, led by Ovinya Ndeti, 22.9 million shillings. Migori, under Ochilo Ayako, 22 million shillings. And the list continues on and on and on. And now the quest for better roads, schools and hospitals remain a mirage as development is not a priority for counties, according to spending reports that expose little allocation for growth in the last 6 months. And on this, all 47 governors have violated the law and are guilty as charged. I think that this particular point, let me bring in Kevin Katisia to just chime in on this one. Expose governors, bad spending habits. All right, I'll come to you, Katisia, shortly. Daktari, governors have been exposed, and at this particular point, we have got almost 10 governors who've been exposed, with Makueni taking the list, 17 million shillings.
You know, Victor, we've been at this devolved system for a while now. And it's not about exposed, it's about what are the expenditure habits and what is allowable and what is not allowable. I think that the controller of budget and the auditor general have a job to do, and the job is to make sure that our expenditure is on target and our expenditure is on things that we have been voted for. Granted that there is a problem, particularly in terms of the relationship between the national government and county governments, and also the manner in which funds are released to counties. Granted also that the manner in which transition arrangements were done, counties were actually saddled or were people transferred to them who actually one would have looked for rationalization. So you're having counties paying salaries, you're having counties with huge recurrent costs, and very little money is going on to development. So we need to address the issue of recurrent expenditure. 3/4 of the people that the county is paying salaries, they were not recruited by the county. These are people who are transferred from the what you call the central government then. Yes. Because these were staff of the local authorities, these were staff of Ministry of Agriculture, these were staff of Health and so on. So there is a very small threshold for counties to operate, especially to earmark money for development. A lot of county money is being spent on recurrent expenditure. The little that is supposed to be there of 20% or 30% on development is also being, it's not being released in good time. So counties are simply existing to pay salaries, which is not a very good scenario to face.
And, you know, Kevin Katisia, being the speaker, I'm happy that your governor is not on this list.
He is.
You must be...
He's there. He's on the list.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Julius Malombe. There you have it. 19 million shillings.
Thank you, Victor. Allow me, first of all, to say good morning to all Kenyans, especially the people of Kitui County, who blessed me to be in this particular seat, and to say I'm very grateful to join my lecturer, my teacher, Dr. Olo, and of course my senior Senator Mungatana.
Yes.
I'm very happy to join you, Victor, once again. But allow me to echo what my senior Mwalimu has said, and allow me also to say that this is a blame which is not supposed to be on these governors who are currently in office. It is actually a blame which should be on the previous governors, because as my senior has said, these recurrent spending by counties is caused by factors which are beyond the governors currently in office. Even apart from the issue of the national government employees who are now taken to counties, and the counties were also given the mandate to employ more people. I can assure you, Victor, because my Kitui County Assembly, we passed our supplementary budget. Yes. And actually I agree, one of the main issue is the recurrent expenditure, because it is exceeding the threshold which has been put by the Constitution. So I think, and you see, you know, once an employee works, he or she expects to be paid. Yeah. So I think this is an issue which should be dealt with somebody. And Victor, you should have read the entire article, because it says all 47 governors
are guilty.
Are guilty, not just the ones who have been put on the front page. All of them are guilty. So this is a serious problem which needs a sober discussion between the control of budget, the Auditor General, and the Council of Governors. Because us as assemblies, for example, there's nothing much we can do when you are given a budget where you can see clearly the recurrent is too much. Because ideally the development budget should be the one which is higher. But you see, so as Mwalimu has said also, there are so many huge pending bills.
Yes.
What do you do? Because actually pending bills have contributed to this problem. Because the control of budget also put some conditions to counties. They have told them you must give a plan of repayment or payment of these pending bills. So now balancing between recurrent and payment of pending bills now gives us the problem where we are.
Yes.
So I think it's a problem which needs to be dealt with in a sober manner, because it is affecting all counties.
Welcome.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So Senator, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You are here, and we're just discussing what's on the front page of this Daily Nation, governors' bad spending habits. And it said that counties are supposed to pump up to 30% of allocations into development. And what we have is a number of governors, but to sum it up, all the 47 governors are guilty as charged. It seems that the Senate, you have got a lot of work to do in the coming days.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say good morning and thank you for inviting me to this program to discuss some of these issues that are critical to our nation. I wanted to say that when we are campaigning, and especially those who are campaigning to join position of head of state, head of government, national government, and head of county government, many of these people are not aware of what the issues really are. When you are outside government and you're trying to get in to be a governor, you are not privy to a lot of the information that really is a genesis of the problems that are in the counties. So when you come in, first of all, you come in the middle of a budget cycle of another governor. And then when you come in, you find yourself having to deal with the problems of an inherited administration that was ongoing. So what the headline is not telling us is that governments are corporations in perpetuity. They continue. So you will blame this governor, although in reality it is not his problem.
Yes.
He didn't create it. Some of the governors used to sit in the Senate. They were the ones who are criticizing the other governors. Now we have turned, they are the ones we are criticizing because of the spending habits that have been inherited. What I can tell Kenyans is that we have been just 10 years into devolution. Now we are starting the third term. And we must have hope, because a lot of things in terms of learning, growing, devolution, we must accept that even a child, when they are born, they try to walk, they fall. They try to walk, they fall. Then one day they will pick up and they will walk. So I agree that things are not right, but we must have hope that as time goes on, we are going to be much better. We in the Senate are going to be tight through the Public Accounts Committee, Senate Public Accounts Committee. We keep on interrogating the accounts of these county governments. And there's a lot of problems, When you attend, you find this and that and the other, things that are not right. And ordinarily, when the chairman, by the way, when they're constituting this account, they don't allow, the law does not allow a member of, say, the Azimio, a member of the Kenya Kwanza coalition to sit as chair. So we in UDA and other parties in the Kenya Kwanza, we are allowed to sit as members, but we don't chair, because those are supposed to be oversight committees. So when those governors come, if it's a governor from my home county, as a senator, I must be allowed so that I can be part of the interrogation. But the committee will be leading the interrogation with a member of the opposition chairing that committee. So we go through the accounts and we ask relevant questions. But the thing that you need to know is that the governor will be coming this year, this is 2023, to talk about the accounts of 2020.
And that now raises my question is, should we now have a law that compels the former governors to appear? Because that is now, they were chief accounting officers.
You're right.
Right? Because how would you, for example, invite Governor Julius Malombe to answer questions of the previous regime?
Yes.
He was not given the records.
Okay, first of all, the law allows us.
Exactly.
We have powers to summon as a Senate, to summon anybody to come before us to give us information on a matter that we are investigating. But you know, and then if you don't turn up, the summonses can be, they can turn, you have powers to punish. You can be arrested and so on. But ordinarily, when you get someone who has been, say, out for the last 5 years to come and sit, he has not, first of all, he's not an officer of the county government. So how do you as a current governor allow him to go and sit with your officers to look at accounts so that he can answer questions in parliament? So unless it is something that is really personal, something that has touched him in person, like maybe he signed an imprest or whatever, something that is so personal, like he traveled abroad and came back and he never surrendered the imprest to something like that. If it is answering general question, I have said the county government is like a corporation, a corporate entity that is in perpetuity.
Yes.
So the current governor carries the blame of the previous governor.
But that is quite dangerous, because, Dr. You'd imagine when you have all these pending bills, all the county governors who are now out of office, some of them have, the current governors are actually now controlling the budget and the pending bills of the previous governors. My question is, don't you think that we need to have such kind of law that compels the previous governors? Well, you are in office, but please just come and explain to us, because now the current governor is now carrying the cross that does not belong to him.
Victor, we have to be careful.
Yes.
This generation that we are talking about carries the burdens of the previous generations in terms of governance. For example, tax burden. The government will go and borrow. Okay, the Kibaki government will borrowed, or the Moi government borrowed. The Kibaki government carries that burden. The Uhuru government carries that burden. The Ruto government should carry the burden. So the point is, as long as everything was done procedurally and within the law, there's nothing wrong. The government is in perpetuity, as Honorable Mgatana is saying, that faces will change, but government remains. The county government is the county government. The face of Malombe changes as well as Ngilu changes. When we talk about Malombe, some of those pending bills are also part of when he served his first term. So basically what you're saying is that in that respect, he also knows something about the previous ones. But there are those who are new, as Mheshimiwa Mgatana say. When you are campaigning, it's a different thing, and he said it, and I think it's true, that when you are outside government, you can promise and promise and promise. When you get in, you realize that you can't even start with what you said, because you don't know what that house is having. So the issue of pending bills is not, in itself, is not a bad thing. The question is that governments have to pay their obligations. They have to pay their debts. And that if you've incurred the debts and they are proper, it means that when Kevin comes into the county assembly, it's not about his previous predecessor. You pay what is genuine and what is documented, you pay. The issue we are dealing with here is sometimes the overcommitments, or the, you go through 5 years with the pending bills that run in billions. It means that the next 5 years of the incoming governor, as he is saddled, she or he is saddled by this huge debt. In others, they cannot start new programs. They have no money to introduce into programs because they have to use money for development to pay those pending bills. So basically what we're saying is that, and we have a problem. Mheshimiwa says we are young, we are stuttering, we are big, that's fine. But let's identify what the problem is. First, we have a huge recurrent bill. Our wage bill is unsustainable. Even for national government, it's unsustainable. And that is transferred to the county governments. We have recurrent costs that are unsustainable. In other words, we are not leaving enough money for development. And so the little that we do, you give, and by the way, people have had to go to, some people have committed suicide, some people have died just for working with the government. Because you take a loan and you put into this contract, because it is 100 million, you believe you will get 150. By the time you finish 5 years, you have not repaid the loan, it is due, you have not gotten the 50 million you're looking for, you're bankrupt. And that has happened. And you see, these are Kenyans, these are entrepreneurs. You don't kill the goose that lays the egg. Unfortunately,
let's take a break. Let's take a break. And we come back. I just want to ask you, Kevin, don't you think now, according to your county, how are you going to work on this one? Because according to the control of budget, most of the money that was requested were only meant to pay, were only used to pay salaries. That's what we're going to discuss. We still have got two more papers to talk about. And now Raila says that he's not afraid to be sanctioned, that Kenya's issue should be solved internally. Much more coming up after this break.
Ni matope wewe na wewe ni nini?
Mimi ulinipotelea nikajiuliza sasa hizi ni mashida gani? Wewe unajua wewe ndio ulikuwa best friend wangu hizi siku zote.
What to go?
Nakwambia wale matope kumbe ile kitu iko na sibiti. Ili kocha spiti yake kumbe ni 2000 km/h. Ili nikaongeza hapo bongo ikachikana na small intestine ikachikana na bone marrow.
Sitaki kuestiwa time. Wewe umekuja hapa, si uko na kitu cha kusema?
Lego nayo.
Si uniambie nasikiza, I can as well multitask.
Nani ajui? Nani aelewi story zako?
Nyama. Ati nini?
Haujui? Hakuna mtu mwenye.
Wewe.
Nini?
A priest uses his hands to cross himself. Let's go. Hey. Don't you dare hurt her. Don't mistreat her, okay? But you said they're only used to cross yourself, okay?
Mother.
You haven't won anything. You wanted to play with fire? Prepare yourself.
Take it easy. You know how the saying goes. The man who doesn't have a woman with him already has all the women in the world. And I'm number 1 on that list.
And for those who still don't know about it, I want to tell you something that made me very happy. Watamu has finally agreed to marry. Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family.
Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Hey, listen up.
Hello everyone and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe? Let's go. It's technology. Let's go. Science, you and me. Let's go. We're learning every day.
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love.
And don't forget to make it fun.
All right, director caught me off guard. All right, now that's the beauty of a live transmission. All right, welcome back to the program. In studio, I have got Senator Danso Mugatano of Tana River. I have got Dr. Matidolo, who is a political analyst and governance expert, and of course, Kevin Katisia, who is the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui. Gentlemen, let's continue the discussion on the front page of the People Daily. Now, let me take you quickly. Why 3 million children are out of school? Why 3 million children are out of school? Lack of food and harsh weather conspire to deny learners chance to improve their lives as parents also seek free meals in school. This was also witnessed sometimes in Kajiado, sometimes last week, where even locals were lining up in a particular school for lunch. That's how bad it is. All right, U.S. First Lady's visits ends with calls to fight hunger. U.S. First Lady's visit ends with call to fight hunger. Jill Biden was in the country for her official 3-day visit. On the front page here still, Raila allies, quote-unquote, not afraid of sanctions by the West. Of course, there have been that call that Raila should be sanctioned by the West for his actions on matters mass action. So Azimio La Umoja leader Rabishes claims moves by Kenya Kwanza campaigns to have him sanctioned from traveling abroad. I'll get to that shortly. And finally, on the front page of the Standard, 1 trillion shillings tax debt at heart of KRA purge. 1 trillion shillings tax debt at heart of KRA purge. Chairman of Kenya Revenue Authority says that they are going hammer and tongs against officials of the former regime for failing to pay taxes and rewarding themselves illegal exemptions. We are back at it again. Kevin, the issue of tax, we are back at it again.
Yes.
What do you think? Should it be the way to go? Because now at the end of the day, tax must be collected and Kenyans have to get the services done.
I agree. Victor, Kenya is our country, and we have the duty to make sure that this country is governed, is developed, and so many other things which involves money. And that's why we have the lawmakers like Mheshimiwa Senator here and myself and others who are there to ensure that we make laws which will ensure proper governance of these funds. Where do we get these funds if not from tax? Yeah, so I support the issue of tax. However, sometimes tax, and like in our country, I think Kenyans are overtaxed. Yeah, whereby in deserving case where someone is supposed to pay tax, they evade. Then now other tax conditions are imposed on undeserving Kenyans, which is very unfair. Yeah, because for example, and I will say this because Senator is here, like when you go to assemblies, like in county assemblies, yeah, it is the SRC gave MCA's car reimbursement, yeah, and we all know that our reimbursement is something we should not be taxed because you have spent your money. You want to buy this cup. You say I spent 100 shillings, you are reimbursed the full amount. But what is happening? KRA is taxing MCS 30%. Yeah, because MCS is supposed to be given 2.2 million, which is a reimbursement, but they are being taxed. That is a tune of 700,000. But there are some cases where people are supposed to pay taxes, and I know when I read this article, and they were giving an example of the Kenya Ports Authority where millions of money has only been paid as tax, and now KRA is targeting innocent Kenyans and forcing them and pressurizing them to pay a tax which should not even be paid. I think the fight against tax evasion should be a fair one. Yeah, let the relevant officers at KRA and other government institutions ensure that people who are supposed to pay tax, but not now imposing tax measures on innocent Kenyans. So I think this is a war which I believe needs the goodwill of all Kenyans. But generally, and I think my seniors will agree with me, Kenyans already are feeling overburdened with the tax. You just saw after the president took office, he removed the subsidies on maize, fuel, and he had all the reasons to do so. And where do we get now this money to take care of the government expenditure? Is from tax. So I think this issue of tax is an issue which should be managed properly, because the cost of living, Victor, is very high. The biggest contributor to the high cost of living is tax. So I think our legislators at the parliament should come up with laws, proper tax laws. And I'm sure, Mwalimu, when you were teaching me, we went through all these things of ensuring that we have proper taxation laws, because without proper taxation laws, believe you me, Victor, we will never solve this problem.
We will not solve this problem because, Senator, the common man will not understand the common laws, all right, the taxation laws. You and I, or all of us here, might have a hint of what that law is all about, but that old gentleman in the village will not. For him, he's being taxed, and that's it. How can the current government cushion Kenyans against the high taxes?
I think first of all, I wanted to take this opportunity to commend the president because he has started on the right track. The right track is that let us be responsible citizens. First, he was saying, let's stay within our means, spend within our means. Then he said, let everybody pay their taxes. Some people politicized it and so on. But if you remember, many years ago when we were in the Kibaki government, one of the things the president then used to say is that you have to pay your tax obligations. He used to insist on that and used to say, give us the opportunity to manage your finance. We'll do it better. And I think during Kibaki's time, they did it very well. Now that talk disappeared in between. But now the talk has come back. And I've spent time with the president, at least on some issues, and I can see his thinking. If we can all cooperate on this and we improve on our tax management system, we are going to collect more and we are going to do more. What I think needs to happen, from my perspective, I don't know the bosses in KRA think, but from my perspective, we need a very serious campaign to change the mental attitudes of people. You know, we need a campaign that says taxation is freedom, you know. We will be free when we are out of debt from other people, you know, other countries, because the other countries, when they are giving us, we are indebting ourselves and we must pay these debt obligations. So from where I sit, I think a lot of you know, discussions need to go around how we can change the attitude. Active campaigns. This hammer approach that you know, if you don't, we are going to arrest you, we are going to freeze you, whatever. I think even the president is not talking that language, because he has said it clearly. This thing of taking people who are producing, if let's say you are running a company that is producing water bottles, you know, and then we descend on you, I'm KRA, and then we descend on you, and then the company stops working. The workers there are no longer employed. So the landlord is not able to get rent. Then he had taken a loan, he's not able to pay. Then the bank comes and auction. So everyone is becoming poorer and poorer and poorer down the chain. You see what I mean? So I think we should have a more friendly approach. So especially people who are already running companies that are employing people, we must not go and close them down. That is very bad. But even individuals who are not running companies and they are willing to discuss their issues, we must give them all the space so that we can get, it's better to collect 100 shillings instead of collecting nothing, or spending more money chasing this person, going to court, using your professional...
hammering non-taxpayers.
So for me, I think we need a very serious campaign that will be telling us, you know, on these televisions, on the radios, on places, telling people, let us fight for freedom. The first freedom we fought was for our land and Mau and whatnot. Now, the second freedom that we need to fight for is for our own economy. And let us take it that even if you are doing a business of selling charcoal, or if you are doing business of selling boozy like at home, or you are selling your onions, Uko Tana River, that I am paying the government 200 shillings every month, and I'm a proud taxpayer. You know, having that kind of campaign over a period of time will change the mental attitudes. But then and my prayer is that if this approach is taken, then the tax base will be increased. Because you know what Mr. Speaker here is saying. They target people who are in formal employment. Government people, you have no space to run. It is cut even before it reaches your account. You are just told this has been deducted, this has been deducted, because government people are within systems. But there are so many other people who are this hustler community who will find a way of trying to get away from paying. So this tax base, to increase it, we have to talk to our people. We have to campaign to let them know that it is for our freedom we are fighting.
In this case, you're talking about people in the informal sector.
In the informal sector, who are the greatest employers. The informal sectors are the most, they are people who have the most employment. So what we need to do is to, maybe the new tax bosses who are there in KRA, they need to think of a way, maybe through our phones, something so simple that says, like, my income has been 1,000 shillings, I'm paying 100 shillings so that my road can be made. So it should be something so simple to register.
That cannot be so possible.
It is possible, it is possible.
Come on, Mwananchi, having a system, somebody to pay tax. I mean, it's, I don't know,
what you're saying is this, and there has to be an expanded base, as Moshima is alluding to. But the most effective form of tax is the indirect tax, the VAT. and other consumer taxes. That's the most.
Yeah.
And most countries have leaned that side because it is the least. Is the least painful, but also one that does not take a lot to enforce, because you're putting it on products which people are buying, and therefore you are getting the money at source, when those salary source at source. So you know, you have services you are rendering, you have fees you are paying, you are running an ETR, you are getting that VAT from there, and you are paying. I think that's not a problem. What we need to do is to agree that we must walk the talk. For the president, his deputy, and his cabinet, transparency becomes very key. You want us to pay tax? Show us your tax returns. Produce them every so often. Yeah? We will follow suit. We will follow suit. Yeah, we will follow suit. But we cannot be told to pay tax and a coterie of, and this is why we've gotten to where we have gotten. The reason why we are now going for KRA is that they were able to give people tax exemptions. Now this regime comes in and says, no, get that money. Where do you get into this? We should be able to, and I want to hear what Mheshimiwa is saying. Shouldn't the president's tax returns be public? Shouldn't it be public? Shouldn't the deputy president's tax returns
and the top executive members?
When I think of the 202 million that he was given the other day, shouldn't I know whether he has paid tax on it? Yeah. So I mean, that's the point. So that we all are comfortable.
The fact of the matter is, tax and your financial affairs are like your religion. You know, you tend to, they're like, almost like your family matters. You tend to want
keep
to
them too close to your heart,
away from the glare of the public. But again, in religion, there are people who are very happy to profess the Lord Jesus Christ, say, I'm saved, I walk with the Lord. And then, obviously, when someone says like that, he opens himself to scrutiny. So same, the people who say, I love my wife or what, so you would want to also, you open yourself to scrutiny. Same with finances. So I think what Dr. here is saying is a challenge, because it boils down to personal decisions. There's no compulsion right now on public officers, be it the head of state or the lowest cadre in the public service. The law doesn't say that you must display your tax returns to the public. What it says is that you must declare every 2 years for government officers. You have to, I think for us members of parliament and senate, every 2 years. And I think for all the other civil service, you file with ESCC, you make a declaration of whatever you
want
have.
that to come in public.
But it is not coming out in public, you see. And I think I will leave it to those involved to make personal decisions. Because I think the problem with this, in terms of making your tax returns public, is that then you are saying that this is how much I have made this year. You see, from salary is very okay. Nobody has a problem with salary, because that one is public knowledge. We, MPs, senators, we earn like this. But then now that's not an issue. The issue is your other sources of income and accountability. And what we say for public servants, we say that at the end of 2 years, there is that report that you file with the speaker, if you're speaker of the Senate, if you're a senator, with the speaker of the National Assembly, if you're whatever, you're a member of parliament at the National Assembly. If you are in public service, you file it to your head of department. And there's no compulsion to, the law has not changed to make it compulsory that I must now say this is what I earn. Because if that is the case, and everybody else, then everybody else needs to do that.
Doctor, are you answered? Are you answered?
No. But Kevin will help me. But any public officer has to make their affairs public. I don't see, like even Mheshimiwa here, even those things he has said, the moment you subject yourself to leadership, who even scrutinize you about your private affairs, your family, all those things, what you do at night becomes our business. So somehow you become a public asset.
Yes, Kevin.
I want to assist Dr. because Mheshimiwa Senator is avoiding the question. Kenyans evade paying tax. You know, Mheshimiwa Senator, you began by saying that the leaders should make sure that this culture of paying tax is with the Kenyans.
Yes.
And then how do we ensure that this culture gets deeply rooted within the Kenyans?
Yes.
It is by our top leadership leading by example.
Yes.
Because if when some of the cabinet secretaries were being vetted, and you see somebody saying, I am worth 20 million, then you know for sure he or she is lying. Yeah.
Another says they're worth 4 billion.
Others are saying 4 billion. You see, if when you are taking office, and I'm sure Mheshimiwa, even myself, when I was applying to become a speaker, I filled that ECC form.
Oh, yes.
And also later you have now to fill the wealth declaration form.
Oh, yes.
You have to declare what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the property you have, your liabilities, your sources of income, you declare. Then now, if you are sure that you declared the right thing, then why are we now fearing saying that this is the amount of tax I have paid? Because even these KRA officials, as they condemn Kenyans, and you saw what happened to Keroche, and you know for sure it was political. You saw even when now the Kenyatta family was being told you must pay tax, and they even responded and said, okay, come and collect your tax. I don't know what happened because the story died. But I think this issue of tax should not be politicized.
Correct.
For us to come up with a long-lasting solution, and for Kenyans to be proud, as you have said, for me to be a proud taxpayer, I must actually see value for my money. Let's begin there. And also I must see our leaders leading by example, by saying, you know, this is what I earned from this company and I've paid this tax. But if you now come pushing innocent Kenyans and making the cost of things to be very high, I think that will make Kenyans even avoid paying the tax. Because why should I spend, like now, Victor, it has become unbearable for business people to continue doing their business. And that's why the China Center was closed. Because to be honest, they can't bear with the current situation. So I think for us to develop as a country and for us to be able to deal with this tax issue, I think that culture, because remember when former President Uhuru Kenyatta was dealing with the insecurity issue, and he said there must be individual responsibility, and he was saying security begins with you. So I think even now when we come to tax, there must be that individual responsibility, and we expect our top leadership to lead by example.
Okay, let me just come in. One thing about this issue of people saying the top leadership must do for me to do. I think it's a very ingenious way of trying to avoid personal responsibility. It doesn't mean that, you know, if the top leadership does something, then I will do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
At the end of it, the campaign should be about taking personal responsibility. We will also take our own responsibility, but it does not mean that what my MP is doing, what my MCA is doing, then that is the correct thing to do. Sometimes I may agree or disagree with them, what my president is doing, what my minister is doing. So it's a very clever way of someone saying, kwa sababu huyu haonyeshi nini na mimi sitaonyesha. But I'm telling you, it is available. And it is wrong to say that because he's doing or he's not doing, then I will do or not do. What we need to agree is that as Kenyans, the culture must change. We must take personal responsibility because it is our freedom. We fought for the freedom of the land. Now let us fight for the freedom of our country. How do we do that? We must create a saving culture. We must create a culture that says, I am a proud taxpayer. And that campaign, you know, it started during the Kibaki time when they started rewarding the biggest taxpayers. But for some reason, it just happens once a year. The president attends there.
Yes.
People are given commendation. Normally it's Safaricom or one of these other big companies, and then it ends there. People need to even reward the smaller taxpayers, the hustler taxpayers. So long as someone can show for the 1 year that I've been there, I've been earning 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month from selling my vegetables, and I have been filing my returns, and it is simple. That message will be stronger than showing Safaricom has paid I don't know how many billions to the nation.
And you know, before you come in, Speaker, Daktari, when you hear what Anthony Mwaura says in his own words, let me just quote him. We have about 1 trillion shillings from tax abandonment, exemption and refunds to undeserving individuals and firms. People think we are fighting a lost cause, but they will be surprised. Let me continue. He says, there are farms dealing with milk and bread that were given 5 billion shillings tax refunds as late as last week. We are pushing Kenyans to pay taxes, and the KRA management were refunding people billions of shillings illegally. So which means the common mwananchi is doing his bit. Then it means that there's some, creme de la creme somewhere who perhaps not doing what KRA is supposed to, they're supposed to do to KRA. So the common mwananchi is okay.
You know, that's a very good discovery, but it's one way, it's half of the story. Because you can hear that is about the Uhuru Kenyatta family, the Brookside and so on, milk. So it will look directly like a witch hunt. If you want to have a successful conversation, open it up. Let's see, okay. Mheshimiwa Mungatana is saying we should not follow leaders, but the point is we are following Uhuru now. We will follow Ruto at some point, and we will follow others at some point, and that will be vindictive or whatever. But the point is, let us all be agreeable that our Article 10 is important for us in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability. We don't need a law for me to be transparent and accountable. All I need to do is that, and I was a bit worried when he said that we leaders should not, the point is that as leaders, as fathers, as parents, as heads of our families, our examples matter to our children. As a head of state, the example that the executive pushes and puts in place matters to the rest of the country. If the president were to show us his tax returns today, I can tell you there will be about 1 million or so people will say, no, if the president has paid, I must also clear mine. So there is a way in which leadership inspires and motivates people. And so when we say this, we should not say the law does not allow. The point we are saying is this. Right now we are saying, okay, we are going for the past regime. What will stop us from going for the next, when the regime changes? Why don't we just make things transparent enough? Everybody to enjoy information, and it's okay. I mean, my point is that if for sure there's tax benefits given unfairly, legally, those should be recalled. But my point is, if it is happening there, it must be happening elsewhere, including those who are in government now. If it's happening. Now, how do we inspire ourselves? Open up this whole thing.
Just like a chain.
Let's know the truth. Get your billions and get...
You know, the former president of US, Donald Trump.
Yes.
Even they tried to make him declare they even went to courts, and he was fighting it. And he was saying he has a right to privacy, and he has complied with the tax laws. That was his argument. And even after he went out of office, they are still following him with court orders and whatnot. And to date, he has never, come out. But not that he's not filing. He's never come out to say, this is what my returns are. And he says there is a law on privacy, and he has complied with the law. The Constitution provides for privacy. So what I'm trying to say is that let us not say it is just the leaders who must show us. When we start interrogating this thing, a lot of the people who are also pointing out, remember when you do this, there are 3 other figures who are pointing you, and one is reporting to God. Some people who are in very high positions are not paying taxes. And we'll start to ask ourselves, churches, mosques, what. So the way I am thinking is that let's not cause a revolution. What we should do is let's have an approach that is like a campaign.
But
you know, our
we're in
campaign,
agreement with that, Mheshimiwa.
is
But
to convince
one thing that
here
you will not go away with
that
is
go
that
and tell, come please and show me, because it is good. Pay your taxes because it is
Mheshimiwa
good.
will not get away
over a period of 1 year, then let us review. That's
Donald
how
Trump
I'm looking at it.
is the only one case of a sitting president or an aspiring president who has never made their tax returns public. Everybody else, from Obama downwards, it's a tradition in the US for tax returns of the president to be made public. For reasons best known to himself, Donald Trump is skirting around it. The things we are saying here, Victor, are the things that either encourage us to pay taxes or encourage corruption and so on. If we are transparent, we are accountable. We will not talk about exposed governors here. We will be simply saying, let each one of us take responsibility. So I would still say that it's a moral thing to do, it's a public thing to do, it's an Article 10 thing to do, for leaders to lead by example.
And Victor, last point.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Yes, let's take a break.
Thank you.
The director says that we are running out of time. Let's just take a break, and when we come back, the issue of tax, it's taxing. And of course, you know...
allow me to say,
the issue of tax is taxing. So let's just take a break before we... okay, we'll be right back with more after that. Okay.
Listen up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe? Let's go. It's technology. Let's go. Science, you and me. Let's go. We're learning every day.
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love.
And don't forget to make it fun.
Jenny, you're pretty good.
You really haven't improved at all, Piggy.
What did you call me? Who told you that name?
Well, that's good.
But we really can't get lost again.
Yeah, I know.
So I was thinking, if something happened to you, I could help. Oh my, what clothes are you wearing? Lover's clothes? They're so ugly. What?
I have to be honest. I'm not sure how much longer I can hide this.
All right, welcome back. Okay, so we're still talking about matters of tax. I mean, even in the Bible, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It's in the good book. Katisia, let me go.
Thank you, Victor, for giving me a chance to contribute on this matter of tax, because to be very honest, especially among county assemblies, it's a very thorny issue. You know, Victor, justice should not only be done, but it should be seen to be done. When you talk of tax, especially with county assemblies, and I've just mentioned on the issue of car reimbursement, where KRA, in an advisory dated 9th of November 2022, forced county assemblies to pay tax for car reimbursement. And Victor, even looking at what is happening at the National Parliament, National Assembly and Senate, it is very clear that MPs, senators do not pay tax on car reimbursement. But here are the MCAs who are perceived to be junior and inferior, who are being forced by KRA to pay tax on car reimbursement. Is it fair? Let's begin there.
Yeah.
You know, for us to inculcate this culture of paying tax, we must be very fair, Victor. Because we have seen, and us as County Assembly Forum, all the 7 speakers, we have been pushing and meeting with SRC, with KRA. We even met with the Deputy President and told him, Mr. Deputy President, here are members of county assemblies who are unfairly targeted by the KRA. And if we fail as speakers and clerks, if we fail to remit that tax to KRA, believe you me, our accounts will be frozen.
So
and
you've
Victor,
raised this issue with the top executive members?
Yes,
and
we raised this issue with SRC.
SRC?
Yes, we raised this issue with KRA. My very good friend Anthony Moura KRA did not even respond on this issue. Yeah, we even raised this issue with the Deputy President himself.
What are some of the recommendations in your submissions? To
We're even telling them, if you want to tax MCAs on car reimbursement, then call it a car grant.
Yeah.
Give me money, let me go buy the car, then now deduct your tax. But if it's a reimbursement, I think it's very unfair, Victor, and as county assemblies will not keep quiet. We'll talk and tell the President himself that, Mr. President, there must be fairness in the manner in which these taxation issues are being handled. Because to be honest, if at the top grassroots level, and you know MCAs are the grassroots leaders, we are the ones who spent much time.
The first point of contact.
Exactly. We are the ones who spent much time with the mwananchi hapo chini. Tumwambie mwananchi, tafadhali tulipa ushuru. Lakini sasa kuanzia huku juu, wenzangu wa Senate pale wako sawa. Ma-MP wako sawa. Ma-MCA tunaumia. Hapana, Victor. So there must be...
Have you received any report so far? Any response?
We have not received any response, Victor. Even right now as we speak, Victor, I just paid my MCAs in my assembly. Some of them, 14 of them, they are car reimbursement, less tax. They were supposed to get 2.2, but we paid them 1.5. There's a lot of hot temperatures in my assembly, and I have to go there and address my MCAs, and they are justified by being unhappy with the government. Because to be honest, the government is completely unfair. And if they continue this way, we will never win the war against tax evasion, Victor.
So
there must be fairness.
So Mheshimiwa, it's now the war between the members of county assembly
from where I'm sitting
and the legislature.
From where I'm sitting and I'm listening, there are just 1,000, I think 346, if I'm not 1446.
1446, yes,
MCAs.
But those are elected.
Elected, and then there are those nominated. Out of a population of 54 million Kenya people, citizens, when they hear that people are being paid 2.2 million and they are being asked to pay 700, so they're receiving 1.5 million, they get very angry. So I'm not sure this is the correct forum to discuss those issues. I think, like what Mr. Speaker has said, there are places we can look at, but here what we need to be discussing and what Dr. Olo has raised is about the culture. Are leaders leading in the correct way? Are we doing the right things? And there are heavy points that are being made here. When leaders are not filing their returns in public, should we then be talking about encouraging the culture of paying taxes? Should we then should we be talking about the culture of saving? So for me, I'm thinking that we have started a conversation that is very heavy, and KRA, from my honest opinion, needs to really hold. If I was in charge there, my approach would be, let's sit with business people.
Okay.
Let's sit with government people. Let's sit with the MCS. Let's talk about what is the right thing to do for us, and then so that when we come to enforce, you don't take us like, but let's sit with the matatu people. Let us sit with the border guys. Let's sit with the market people. Let us tell them this is what we are doing. Let us do the campaign across the country. If I was the head of KRA, I would not be, sitting in my office on whatever floor up there, air conditioned. I will be down there in the streets telling people, without you, we can't run this country. Without you, your governor cannot pay even salaries. Your teachers cannot be paid their salaries.
Yeah.
Without you, your policemen who are standing there, I will be there talking to these people. I will sit with groups, and I will make these forums, advertised, well televised, pay for airtime, discuss this issue, because we must have a national conversation around these things. Like bring Dr. Olo and let him tell senators, what is the problem with you exposing, even if we may have the discussions of, the law says this and we have complied with the law. I live there still thinking, Dr. Olo was saying something there that we need to go and look at this law. What is the problem, So let's have this conversation. And then even if it takes 2-3 months, this is like an election, like a campaign, a serious campaign. And then when everyone is on board, we say, now going forward, what the business people are telling us, 30% is too high. Let's go down to 20, let's go down to 15, but we promise everyone will pay. And then we say this, like the way President Kibaki had done. Let's forget about the past. I wasn't elected to fight with the ghost of 1963. I was elected to fight with what is, to move the Kenyans forward. And then from there we say, okay, let us all comply. Those ones that will not, sasa mutanisame. So I pray that by God's grace, this discussion that Anthony Maura, the board, has started, it will not be hammer, but it will also be a national discussion that will take maybe for 3 months, asking people, let us comply, let us do this, let us fight for the freedom of this country, let us champion these things, let's change our culture. And then people then start doing it, people start doing it, slowly it will become
something
normal.
different. All right,
and the discussion, Victor, must be fair and with practical solutions. Because without fairness and practicality, we will never win this war against tax evasion, and we need to pay tax.
I had to start with this issue of tax. I had to stop politics a bit, because this issue of tax is a thorny issue. At the end of the day, all of us deserve services. So if you don't get some good insight from brilliant brains, that I don't think even the president will get it right. It has to come from somewhere. That's why I had to dwell on the issue of tax. All right, now I'm about to excuse you. Dr. is about to head to a sister station, Swahili, the other side. But before you go, Raila now says that he's not afraid of the West. And now there is a call for him to be sanctioned because of his call for mass action. Kenya is a democratic country, and Raila says that he's doing what is right and what is between the constitution. Dr.
And I think he's right that these are local issues. These are not international issues. The politics that we are playing around with are local. You can sanction him, you can fire him from AU and so on. But if he's going to get interaction with people, then you should be concerned. And that's the most important thing. And he's saying that it is right to say what he's saying, and that the West should leave us alone to do what... of course, I don't know what the details are, and it may not even be true that there is an intention to sanction him. But what kind of sanctions can they impose on him? Travel? What would he be traveling to go and do? What business? If you sanction a sitting member of government or a sitting president, then you'll disable them in a very strong way. But if you sanction an oppositionist, where are they traveling and what are they really doing? But it's not in vain, or rather it has happened before. I guess what we are yet to see is the various issues playing out. But the most important thing is that We are talking about taxes, which is local. We are talking about our politics, which is local. We are talking about our own issues. I think we should fix our issues ourselves. And when we do, it doesn't matter what the external people tell us. They will help us, but remember, we have to live ourselves. Somebody was saying, like, some of the things that we are talking about, we're imposing them from outside. It's not about imposition. You see, if the issues are material enough, people are talking about it, then they're already here. So we don't need to insulate ourselves and say we don't belong to the international community, or that certain things are ours, others are not. Basically, we're living in an international, and the world is becoming global. I mean, it's a global village, and things are moving very fast. Information is moving very fast. Today, you don't need to travel to do any business. With the internet of internets, with the computers and with blockchain technology, I mean, you can transact anywhere. The digital age is here, knowledge age is here. So those things are not as easy. And if you think they're easy, ask Russia why they have not crashed Ukraine. Because you should have thought that they would have crashed them on the very first day that they started this. But basically what we're saying is that the resilience and the support systems that are around now are so important, and we need to look at all those issues. I've said so many things in there because I know I want to ask you to let me go. But the key point is that we do have our challenges, we do have our local issues, and they'll not go away unless we address ourselves to them, or unless we face them. So some of these things that we're hearing, you can sweep them under the carpet, but at some point they'll resurface.
Yeah. I wanted to say something before Dr. Olo leaves. Yesterday, I was in Lamu County, and I joined the president in the prayer that was there. A very old pastor, I remember his name, he's called Abadoyo. He preached to us about Nehemiah, the call for Nehemiah to build the wall. And Nehemiah prepared to build that wall. Then there was a group of opposition, Sanballat and Tobias, who were opposed. They created as an opposition to what was a good thing, rebuilding the wall, you know. And what the pastor was saying is that Nehemiah said, we shall continue irrespective of what Sanballat, Tobias, and those other people are doing. Now, this message is what we are carrying, you know. The president and his team, the team that he has put in place in the executive, the governors and their teams, they must continue building the wall. The Sanballat and his Tobiases will continue doing what they are doing, but we shall continue building the wall. And the message we are sending to Raila is that it does not matter what you do, we shall continue building the wall. Because I need to take my kids to school. Your kids are not in school. You cannot stop me from taking my kids to school because you are claiming you lost elections. You cannot stop me from taking my kids to school, driving to work, walking to work, looking for Mjengo, because you yourself, you are fighting for what you are saying is your thing. What about my thing? So we will continue building the wall. And you know, the equation, no, let me tell you this. The equation is that banning this studio is just extra whatever. Building it is another matter. So what we need to do is to protect the work we are doing. So make your noise, but the moment you start touching property and destroying lives of people, destroying businesses, then I will not accept, because you cannot come to my house and start destroying what I'm building. If you are constructing, you're doing a construction, people are passing, they are going to work, people are doing what, that's okay. You have no business with them. They are even dancing near, maybe there's a church there.
I want to release that.
I don't mind. But if you start destroying the church or the building I'm constructing, tutakosana.
I want to release Dr. Should the president be worried? Because now, according to them, it was now 10 days to remaining. There's that countdown as a for their mass action.
I don't
based on what Mheshimiwa is talking about, the noise and the building of the wall should continue nonetheless.
No, I don't think the president should be worried, but should he listen? I think the issue is, should he listen?
Yes, should he listen?
Should he listen? I think that's the issue. What I want to encourage the president not to do is to listen to what Mheshimiwa is saying, because when Nehemiah was building or had a message to build the walls, it was not a message that Nehemiah had brought to himself, a message that had come from God. So Nehemiah was within a divine prophetic mission. Now, it's possible to tap into that, but it would be almost sacrilegious or somewhere there to assume that what we are talking about is comparable. I know that we have said this is a Christian nation, but there's also a place where we may not be. The good thing about God is that you don't know exactly where he is on this. You can think he's not with Raila, but he's with him. You can think he's with Ruto, and yet. So, for me, God has very interesting ways of working, and man cannot understand them. Basically, what I'm saying is that even in the toughest of times, as a people, we need to talk to each other. The burden on the president to listen to his people is so much. In fact, the president is the president of opposition. He's the president of those who did not vote for him. He's the president of those who voted for him. He's the president of all Kenyans. And whether it's one Kenyan, the case of the 199 ship, whether it's one Kenyan, whether it's two Kenyans, we just need to have all of us together, listen to each other. We may not agree, but we must keep listening to each other and working together. So we don't need to wait for it to go bad. We don't need to fight about things we can talk about. We can't say all that Raila is doing is talking about handshake. That may be true, but we don't know. The point for me is that he's raising issues. Yeah. Is it worth talking about it? If it's not worth talking about it, you just let him talk until the cows come home and maybe nothing will happen. But if it's going to achieve traction and is going to cause people to want to listen to him more and ask more questions, then we address the questions. So for me, it's a question of, are we listening to each other? And are we working together? Because for me, once you have taken government, you have the government. You have a responsibility to take care of everybody, including Raila and his supporters. Yes.
Okay.
But aren't we doing that? Aren't we doing that? When you build a road, when you are constructing hospital, when you are planning, like talking about the port, when he came there, creating fish ports, planning, explaining to us all the things. Aren't we doing that?
That we'll have to debate.
But when someone says open the servers are open.
We'll have to debate that.
Then you move from there, you say no, it's the high cost of living. Within 14 days you are going. You're just a haranga. You are not a serious person. You are not a serious person at all.
At the end of the day, it's a democratic nation.
Yeah.
And
but sometimes we abuse constitutional rights, and you are abusing your constitutional right when you start saying no, because I have leaders. You know what is calling a crowd here and making noise. You know that one you can do, and any MP here can actually organize that, because causing chaos is a very simple thing. Causing chaos is and then media loves it. They'll put you on the headlines. But is really that responsible leadership? Is it really responsible leadership, especially from a person who has run for president? Is it really responsible leadership when you know the channels to do things properly?
I unfortunately have to run.
You have to run.
Yes, I have to run. All I can say is this, that I don't think we are yet to see destruction of property. We are not at war as yet. There are active disagreements. Does the Constitution protect Raila? It does. Does it allow picketing? It does. Does it allow demonstrations? It does. The most important thing is that as that happens, other people's properties have to be respected. Other people's lives have to be respected. But as to whether he can do these things, let him talk about it. Let Kenyans judge.
All right, Dr. Thank you so much. I'll let you go. That's Dr. Martinello, who is a political analyst and governance expert as well. I'll have to release him. He is heading to Radio Taifa. And before that, let's take a break and we come back. I still remain with the Speaker, Kevin Katisia, and Senator Dunstan Mungatana. Daktari, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right.
It was my
all
pleasure.
Right.
Next time I'll make sure that I have all the time.
All the time. We still have all the time with you. No.
kujificha. Wewe ni mtu najua tangu. Wewe si mtu wa kukaa kwa nyumba 24 hours.
Tulia, relax. Unaenda wapi?
Yuko wapi?
Nani?
Melissa yuko wapi?
Tulia, Melissa atakuja kukuona.
Sijakufa.
Kwa hivyo utajaribu kujiua tena?
Sasa inajua umeona venye wife amekufanya. Unajua vitu hizi saa zingine si take for granted.
Mbona unaonekana nikao umjui? Ni kama simjui lakini najua utanieleza baadaye.
Mimi mwanaume kuna vitu mingi wanafaa kusort. Na chapa yote umetumia lazima ndakurudishia.
Zigi.
Hii story tumemaliza.
A priest uses his hands to cross himself. Let's go. Hey. Don't you dare hurt her. Don't mistreat her, okay? You said they're only used to cross yourself, okay?
Mother.
You haven't won anything. You wanted to play with fire? Prepare yourself.
Take it easy. You know how the saying goes. The man who doesn't have a woman with him already has all the women in the world. And I'm number 1 on that list.
And for those who still don't know about it, I want to tell you something that made me very happy. Watamu has finally agreed to marry. Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family.
Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Uli matupi wewe na wewe ni nini?
Mimi ulinipotelea nikajiuliza sasa hizi ni mashita gani? Wewe unajua wewe ndio ulikuwa best friend wangu hizi siku zote.
What's go? Nakwambia ule matope kumbe ile kitu iko na sibiti. Ili kocha spiti yake kumbe ni 2000 kilomita per hour. Ili nikaongeza hapo bongo ikachikana na small intestine ikachikana na polymeros.
Sitaki kuestiwa time. Wewe umekuja hapa. Si uko na kitu cha kusema?
Lego nayo.
Si uniambie nasikiza I can as well multitask.
Nani ajui? Nani haelewi story zako?
Nyama. Ati nini?
Haujui? Hakuna mtu mwenye.
Wewe.
Nini?
All right, welcome back. Now, coming to the home stretch of this discussion, now I have Kevin Katisia, Speaker of the County Assembly of Kitui, and Senator Danson Mungatana. All right, gentlemen, so based on what Raila said, let me just quote Raila Odinga. Let the foreign countries respect Kenyans. Nobody should interfere with our affairs. He continues to say that we are friends with the United Kingdom, the US, China, Ukraine, Russia, and all African countries. It is the responsibility of Kenyans to solve their problems. That is according to Raila Odinga yesterday. Kevin Katisa, go first.
Thank you, Victor, for asking me this live issue. No, it is live that there is an open and public confrontation
yes.
between the government led by His Excellency the President and the opposition, led by the former Prime Minister. You know, Victor, as a speaker, and of course, when I was campaigning to become a speaker, I was sponsored by Wiper Party, which is a member of Azimio. But at the moment I became a speaker, I'm supposed to operate in a neutral manner and in a non-partisan manner. And that's why I will not, unlike my senior Senator Mungatana, I will allow me to speak objectively in a neutral manner.
Yes.
Because as a speaker, and I'm sure in the Senate, Speaker Kingi is supposed to be neutral. Because in my assembly, I have UDA MCS, I have Wiper NAC MCS, so I'm supposed to be neutral and non-partisan. But because I'm a Kenyan also, I have the right to also express what I feel. Because as Mheshimiwa Mungatana said, I think every action has a consequence. Yeah. And you know, when you look at our Constitution, Victor, Article 24 of the Constitution is very clear that there are some limitations to the fundamental rights and freedoms. Because if you say you have freedom of expression, must you commit this crime of hate speech, for example, when you are expressing yourself? Yeah. If you say you have the freedom to demonstrate, should you damage other people's property? The answer is no, because the Constitution says that the enjoyment of your rights and freedoms should not infringe on other people's rights and freedoms. What is happening now, and I'm happy that Senator is the one who is talking about this, not our president, because I've not heard our president, because he is our president. Yeah, he was sworn in as our president. The process of election will be now upon Mheshimiwa Mungatana and Kenya Kwanza team and the Azimio team to debate the process of election. But as a Kenyan, one thing I know is that our president is called Dr. William Samoei Ruto. And we have not heard him say that he will himself ensure that there are sanctions. All we saw are sentiments by the majority leader in the National Assembly, Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah, and we have heard from my senior Senator Mungatana. We have not heard from the president, because he has a duty, as Senator said, he has a duty to govern this country. Though he is there politically, but now at the moment he became a president, he is my president. Even if I did not vote for him, being a member of Azimio, and he's the president of Senator Mungatana, who voted for him because he's a member of Kenya Kwanza, is our president. And some of these issues we were discussing here, Victor, and on the issue of tax, for example, and these are the issues I fully support. Let the government ensure that the tax are paid, because there's no way we can run this government without payment of tax. Yeah. And now when the Azimio team, that Azimio brigade, is doing their demonstrations and talking to Kenyans, as they do so, as they exercise their freedom of expression, they should not infringe the other people's rights. And as Mheshimiwa is saying, it is true that when people are doing their politics, they may abuse the rights and freedoms. Yeah? And it is upon now the relevant government institutions to evaluate and determine whether the rights are being abused in a fair and neutral manner. Because when you start now raising the issue of hate speech, or raising the issue of tax, or raising any other issue just to target somebody politically, that is not right according to me. Because shortly, Victor, you'll see now several issues being raised against the Azimio team, the opposition team. Utasikia things of tax. Yeah, you'll hear things of now hate speech. Yeah, but also as the government agencies, as they pursue and ensure full implementation of Article 24 of the Constitution, they should not politicize the issue. We should not see a DCI which is political. We should not see a EACC which is political. We should not see a KRA which is political. Let them do their work. And we had the president say that he will support these agencies, these institutions, as they do their work in a neutral manner. Because they are there being paid by taxpayers' money to serve Kenyans. And the Azimio team, one thing I can tell them is that as they exercise their right, and of course, Victor, I don't think any right-thinking foreign state will issue these sanctions against the Azimio team before now there is a proof or evidence that now they are, when you are a state, for you to be recognized as a state, Yeah, there must be those laws, international laws, which must be followed.
Yes.
And those international laws are derived from the municipal laws. So if a leader abuses the municipal law, then the international law requires that some sanctions, both the trade sanctions and also movement, are imposed upon them. So I think the relevant states or the relevant institutions should ensure that there's also fairness, not political. If I wake up today and attack you politically, tomorrow I wake up and attack me politically. But when it comes to my rights, I think without proper reasons and proper justifications, somebody's rights should not be interfered with.
All right.
Yes.
Senator, when you look at, Kenya, you've been in this politics for a very long time, and you know how Kenyan politics is being run. There is that aspect of strong opposition. Sometimes it can get nasty, and so to speak, Raila Odinga has been on the forefront of opposition in this country. Why give him, or from whichever quarter it is, call for sanctions against opposition? If the same president called for a strong opposition, perhaps somebody might say that this is not what he meant, but having that democracy where each and every person is free to express the democratic space, enjoy the democratic space as they build their political platform.
Before I was elected senator, I served as commissioner for Commercial Competition Commission.
Yes.
And that is, we are the watchmen and judges who decide on trade disputes between the member states of the COMESA. I'm still serving in that capacity because my term comes to an end on that international 2024. When I came to Parliament, and when I got elected into Senate, Parliament and Senate elected 5 of us to the Pan-African Parliament. Pan-African Parliament is the continental body that discusses issues of the continent of Africa. There is the African Union, there's a Council of Ministers, and then there is the Pan-African Parliament, which is based in Midrand, South Africa. Now, I'm mentioning this because as the head of delegation in that parliament, the voice of Kenya is very big. The pride of Kenya in COMESA is very big. Every time I'll sit there as a commissioner, the other commissioners want to know, what does Kenya think? There's a lot of congratulatory messages when we went for the swearing in, saying how Kenya handled the election process, how Kenya is a beacon of freedom and it needs to be emulated. Yani, you see, they talk about Kenya, and on the democratic space and whatever, they will also talk about South Africa, because we have also Malema there, who says whatever he wants and nothing happens to him. So for me, I think Kenya is at that stage in the continent and in the world.
Kenya's a big boy.
He's a big man, actually, in our continent. So for us to continue in that level of engagement, which then makes us even eligible to sit even in international body. You remember Kenya was sitting at the Security Council at the UN. The only African nation that was sitting there at that time. So we need to have that in mind, and we need to know that other people are looking up to us. Many countries are looking up to us. Many nations are looking at Kenya as a nation that they would want their countries to be like, you know. So when the president says we have no problem with opposition saying this and that, when we say in the Senate there is no problem with this happening, other countries are looking and also seeing this gentleman went through the whole legal process. He never succeeded. Then this same gentleman comes back and says, not the High Court, not the Supreme Court, not the IEBC, which is funded in billions to look after our elections, but a single individual called a whistleblower, who is an unknown person, is the person that he is relying on.
Yes.
An undocumented person relying on to create a situation where to invalidate what IEBC and the Supreme Court has done. People are watching that. Then you call for whatever, you call them consultations, you call them prayers. The government is saying, no, you have constitutional right, do it. People are watching that, outsiders, that is, I'm talking, they're watching that. Then you see that nobody's paying attention to you, because time people are asking, even normal people, normal Kenyans are asking, what is it that you are telling us? You know, I've been to very strongly opposition zones on radio stations, and people are asking, me, I didn't vote for your team, and I didn't vote for your side, but I'm asking myself, everything was open. Why are we being told that it was stolen? Then when that thing failed to take traction, they jump on high cost of living now. And then they say, bring the prices down within 14 days. Now, they're hoping to ride on that in personal popularity to say things that are not really helpful to the country. We have proposed to them that we need opposition, because it's the natural way of doing things. Even in our homes, your wife and my wife may not see the things that I see them, whatever, but at the end, when she says what she has to say and I say what I have to say, we do things better for the family. Even God, he didn't kill the devil when the devil messed up as an angel in heaven, Lucifer. He didn't finish it. In fact, Jesus even held a conversation with him. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? I'm from here. I'm going nowhere, you know. So in the book of Jacob, you will see God is even engaging on the other side. You see? So opposition is everywhere. Even an atom, for it to exist and to create stability, there is opposing forces. So we are saying that must be there, because the president is not God and he cannot be right on everything. The government is not God, they cannot be right in everything. There are people who have a different opinion, and those opinions are important. But what I am having an issue with is, what is it that you are saying? You say, open the servers were there. Then you see the issue is not, so you change. It's not gaining traction, so you change. You say now, but it is the cost of living.
That's now the style of politics.
No, it is the cost of living.
Today, if it doesn't gain traction, you change another narrative.
Cost of living is okay. Is your politics. You are playing your politics.
Yes.
Cost of living. Now, a serious opposition would say, this is a government in waiting. A serious opposition.
Senator, we can't tell opposition.
So,
you can't propose to them what to say.
No, I'm saying, I'm just telling you, you know, now it is also my freedom of speech. A serious opposition, like you see it in Britain, you see it in the UK, you see it in the US, you see it in Italy. They tell you, look, what the president is saying, or what the prime minister is saying, is not what should be done. What should be done is this, and therefore let us push for this. You see, now when someone comes and tells you, let us reduce the cost of living within 14 days, or we will do maandamano, what we are saying is that that's not a serious person. That is a person who is a haranga. Because let me finish. He's not giving us any alternatives. We have told them, from our position, from the way we have studied this economy, the economy was going down. We cannot pay 30 billion direct subsidies every month. There's no money like that. It's not sustainable. So what we are saying, let us take these subsidies, go back to the production line. Let us spend money on fertilizers, for example, to support the farmer. Eventually, it will reduce the cost of production, eventually the cost of at the retail point, so that then we will be talking about a sustainable system. But then when you tell me that I should pay the guys at the tail end of it, those are cartels. That's why they used to tell us in the month of the election that nendeni supermarket mtapata unga ya 100, and there was nothing like that. Because you are just making rich a few people. So that is our policy, and we believe it will work. You come with yours, tell us. Let us continue paying.
Because at the end of the day, the opposition must play their role, much as you also going to be countering them. But coming to Wakili, coming to close as well. Yes. What do you think now the opposition should do? Because somebody would say that being Raila is difficult in this country. You do this, at this point you're also pushed on the other side. When you move to the other side, you're also being told, no, that's not the right way to go. Then how should the president get that opposition to counter him or to put him on check without necessarily being combative and attacking him and his administration?
No, Victor, just like my senior brother has said, the reality is the former Prime Minister is now the opposition leader. That's the reality. Whether he claims his election was stolen or not, the reality is he is the opposition leader. That's the reality. And the reality is Dr. William Samburu is the president. And I heard the president say during his inaugural speech when he was being sworn in that he is open to work with the opposition. Yes. Because any leader would want somebody to keep them on check and to oversight them. Because if it is objective oversight, and even in our assemblies, Mheshimiwa Senator, we always tell our governors that they should allow us to also give objective oversight to them. Yeah. These politics which are being played out here between the opposition and the government team, they are normal according to me. And I agree with the Senator that as an opposition leader, you must pick the issue which is affecting many Kenyans and run with it. Like now this issue of high cost of living, that is part of opposition and keeping the government on check. Yeah, the other part of stolen election is an issue. And because everybody has freedom of expression, is an issue which the opposition may use. But Victor, we must also be very honest that the opposition has not been violent.
All right.
There has been no instances of violence in those political rallies.
Exactly.
It's not been there. And I urge the opposition to just do their role in a peaceful manner, because they have freedom to also demonstrate and meet and talk. But as they do so, they should do it in a good manner. And also the president and the government, as they exercise their powers over all Kenyans, including the opposition, they should also be just, fair, and avoid personalizing issues. Because Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is speaking on behalf of several Kenyans. And also the government, led by the president, they are also speaking on behalf of very many Kenyans. So let them meet somewhere and discuss. Because, for example, Victor, as I conclude, like Mheshimiwa, this issue of IBC selection panel, I was very shocked to see that the Azimio team is not sending their nominees, and you see now the clerk to now advertise and call for people to apply. You see now, if now the process is done and completed, and the IBC commissioners are appointed, then now they will come later and start now crying for, saying that,
like the way the election was done, and then the order was obtained, and then they didn't participate.
Exactly.
So this is the kind of leader we are dealing with here. The country must go on.
My colleagues in Azimio, that we must also participate. Because the truth is, in Parliament, Kenya Kwanza team are the majority. And of course they are poaching more and more from the opposition. So, the majority must carry the day. As much as the minority want to have their say, they must accept that the majority must carry the day, and they should participate in all these activities. If you are outnumbered, it's just good for you to accept the reality and move on with it. Thank you, Victor.
My director is on the floor, signifying that things are not okay. Senator Tana River, iko sawa?
My final word, as we close, is
20 seconds.
Is to urge our people in the country to focus on growing the economy. Let us see what the programs the president has are going to work, and also let us work ourselves, our shambas, our business. Let us work and support our nation, because we don't have any other. Let us ignore those who are telling you don't work. let us go to the streets and run up, because when you go to the streets, it does not make the food come on your table.
Thank you. All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've actually overrun. But anyway, when it's too good, we continue. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. That is Senator Danstan Mugatana of Tana River County. Of course, Dr. Martin Olo, who just left on the other side of Radio Taifa. You can also take a listen if you have a radio near you. And of course, Speaker of the County Assembly, Kevin Katisia, who is also a friend of KBC for quite some time. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
And that's all right. That's us up here on Ion Politics. My name is Victor Lowe. We are taking a break, but Good Morning Kenya still continues after this. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Hey, Charlie.
The Maasai cattle market in Kimana, Kajiado County. The herders come here each week to sell their animals. On a good day, a bull can fetch up to 70,000 shillings. These are the lucky ones to survive and fetch an income. Climate change is changing things. The Maasai are losing their source of wealth at an alarming rate. By the end of last year, the county lost close to half of its livestock.
So it's really making us not feel good.
Nelson Ngeda is a Maasai community outreach worker.
We depend on animals. Now all animals are dying, then we are worrying about how our life will be.
For him, climate change is personal. He's lost 15 of his own cows. Nearby, the Kimengele River is dried up. The land is parched. All this is having an effect on families.
Howdy.
It's been especially hard on poor women and girls. 37-year-old Nasha Pai, not her real name, used to work in this maize farm in Oloitoktok near her home. She earned 300 shillings a day to cater for food and school needs for her 3 children. But all that is now gone with the drought.
Sasa huwezi kununua chakula, siwezi kuenda kununua chai na kitabu. Kama ni mtoto mgonjwa siwezi kupeleka hospitali.
And it's not only her source of income that is gone. She used to sleep here with her daughter. But her 14-year-old daughter ran away. When the money ran out, the uncles came calling. They were looking to marry her off for an income.
Sasa nakwambia mimi wewe utajua sababu ukilete tu ukisikia tu hata kama ni gisa sisi tapeana hii mtoto hata bila sisi tatadiwa hii mtoto taenda kupeana.
With this kind of pressure, some girls are scared and are running away from home and finding shelter in rescue centers. The Nice Place Foundation near Amboseli National Park is home to over 39 girls. Most of them are Maasai from the surrounding area. Some are rescued from early marriage, others are here for training as girl rights advocates. Nasha Pai's daughter now calls this place home. She has food and a bed to sleep on, and she's escaped early marriage for now.
Nilifeel tu maana nilisema bado mimi sasa mimi nikipeanwa hakuna kile ndaweza kujisaidia na mama yangu tu hata hiyo ng'ombe akishakula haitakuwa imemsaidia itaisha kwa hiyo siku arudi tena kwa shida.
The uncles had already identified a suitor for her.
Walikuwa wanatarajia kupata ng'ombe ili yani mama atajirike sasa.
Kelly Mwende is the project officer in charge of the safe shelter at the Nice Place Foundation.
In this area, when a girl reaches a certain age, she's considered ripe for circumcision, and after circumcision, she's seen mature to be a wife.
But Kelly is afraid that if the drought situation continues, the numbers will increase.
In our community, they only need 5 cows, sugar, blankets. Then it is over. Then you are married off.
Margaret Naneo is also at the shelter. She is a 19-year-old whose father was paying her school fees until all of his cows died.
And together with my grandfather, they plan to circumcise me and to marry me off. Because they, girls in our community, they are less valued more than boys.
Nice Place is giving her a second chance. She's doing an internship here at the Kimana Health Center, pursuing her dream of doing social work. We went to Nairobi to ask the county representative some questions about what's happening. Dr. Laina Mpoke is the acting county executive committee member for gender, culture and wildlife in Kajiado County. He was here to discuss water scarcity in his county with the senators.
It's a very sorry situation. For the first time, we have had 4 consecutive seasonal rain failures in the county.
FGM and even early marriages is illegal in Kenya. My question to you then will be what are you doing about it?
A lot of these dilemmas are not just focused on government doing something. It is a concerted effort of everyone to try and address the problem. We do have clear guidelines for chiefs, policies, and we have a system where the chief can actually act to apprehend those that are causing this, not just early marriages, but even FGM.
Both FGM and child marriage have been illegal in Kenya since 2001 when the Children's Act became law, but the law is not always enforced. And now, the drought situation is rolling back efforts to prevent early marriages and FGM. Neshapai says the area chief will give a protection from the uncles.
Sasa chief juzi amekuja kuelezea mimi, amekuambia mtu kukuja kuchukua wewe upigie mimi simu, hata amepatia mimi namba.
Talent yangu ni kama naona ni kusuka. Acha niende kuendelea na hiyo, nione ile Mungu atanipatia ili nikuje hata mniokoe kwetu.
The girls can also rest assured of their safety. Maria Mbo reporting for KBC News in Kajiado County.
Listen up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe?
Let's go! Let's go!
It's technology.
Let's go! Let's grow!
Science, you and me.
Let's go!
We're learning every day.
Let's go! Let's grow!
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love.
And don't forget to make it fun!
Jenny, you're pretty good.
You really haven't improved at all, Piggy.
What did you call me? Who told you that name?
Well, that's good.
But we really can't get lost again.
Yeah, I know.
So I was thinking, if something happened to you, I could help. Oh my, what clothes are you wearing? Lover's clothes? They're so ugly. What?
I have to be honest. I'm not sure how much longer I can hide this.
Abantu ba Mintombi Yamore. Your favorite KBC station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest KC music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii, and its environs. Minto FM,
Exactly 2 minutes past the top of the hour. You're right in time for our last conversation this Monday morning on our Family Check segment. We look at career and motherhood for the next 37 minutes. This is what we are set to converse. I am holding court with Dr. Susan Gitau, who is a psychologist. Daktari, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Doreen.
You're welcome. Let me just shoot it. Should I give up my career for motherhood?
Why should you do that if you know how to balance?
How do you balance?
It's possible to balance, especially if you have a very supportive employer, a very supportive spouse.
I like how you've begun it from supportive employer.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Supportive spouse,
yes.
Supportive family, and if you have a very good relationship with a caregiver for your child or your children, you can balance.
These are very key stakeholders. Supportive employer, supportive spouse, supportive family
and caregiver.
Yes. We'll come to this different stakeholders momentarily. But let me pick from your practice. What are some of these issues that women really do have? And why we say women is because there's a lot that's going on in this space, especially when you look at employment in this country, so to speak, as far as motherhood is concerned. And that's why I shot my first question: should I give up my career for motherhood?
And I said no. Because I'm a mother, I never gave up my career, though it wasn't easy. I hope a lot has improved in many institutions, and probably the ones that are watching us this morning can also decide to do something. Because I know there was a very big outcry some years back until fathers were given paternity leave.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how well they use the 10 or 14 days. Like where I work at African Nazarene University, men are given 10 working days. But I don't know whether they go to support their spouses or they go to finish their projects. We do also have institutions like the Teacher Service Commission. Yeah, and I'm happy because I became a mother when I was working for TSC.
Yeah.
And so it was easy for me to even like plan how I'll have my 3 months, but not just 3 months. I can have my 4 months. And so that I can have enough time to breastfeed my baby. But that is just one institution that I can say I am aware of. Where I am, the mothers given 3 months. And these 3 months, again, if you are lucky, for example, now we have the semester mode of learning and teaching. Maybe you're finishing in the month of May, and maybe you don't have these mid-semester units. So you can breastfeed your baby, be with your baby all the way. But I don't know. There are some institutions, especially some of the people that I've handled personally, and it saddens my heart, where you find somebody has lost their job because they became a mother. Not because of economic constraints in that institution, because that's a different factor altogether. But because now you have become a liability, or you have changed your shape. Maybe you used to be at the reception, or you are like now you're
you don't
a big name host, you know. And then now you've changed, maybe the way people want to look at you. And I feel it. I really feel it, because it's like somebody wants you to go against the natural call that God has given us, you know, to be mothers. We would not have human beings in this world if we were never given birth. But apparently, I think and I believe sometimes when the world is against you, you can never be against yourself. And I think this is a very big discussion that needs to be taken to all workplaces, especially because the ones who are self-employed, by the way, wanaweza jipanga, they can plan their time and all that. Although if you are the single mother, now that's even difficult, even if you're running a business. So it's important that we discuss this intensely and not forget who we are. One thing I always say, Africans should never lose their identity. Never, at whatever cost.
I hear you.
Yes, because if you are not a good enough mother, be prepared to have a very disturbed future citizen, very disturbed teenager at all developmental stages of your child. So I guess here balancing, also knowing how to take care of yourself is very key. Yeah,
I hear you. You did touch on the Teacher Service Commission, also the fact that, you know, this
I benefit
has been your employer. But they just did effect the 2021-2025 CBA, that is a collective bargaining agreement, that provided for increase of leave days for both women and men. Women from 90 to 120 days.
Imagine.
And men from 14 days to 21, so that's 3 weeks. And this is just, you know, one of those institutions whereby we are privy as far as knowledge is concerned, to which they are at least making sure that mothers and even fathers can have time to spend with their infants or their small babies. From where you sit, even just as a psychologist, from your practice, what you've gathered, what you're covering in terms of covering ground, what more do institutions need to do as far as this days is concerned? Because you're just saying that it's important. And you need not give up one for the sake of the other. Yes.
There are times, you don't have your mother around, you don't have your sister, you don't have that caregiver, or the caregiver has taken off. So sometimes you may need to go with your baby to the workplace. Which workplace will allow you to go with a baby that is crying all over? It's like that is not a human being. So I'm happy with some of the institutions that have daycare centers for their employees, just in case something doesn't go right. But how many will allow you? And I want to say, I run a counseling center as well. And I have had young people giving birth. You can't believe, I even have a small room with beds for them. Yeah, because I suffered even that time when, even if TSC gave me time off, to be with my child, when I went back, I used to imagine from where I'm working and where my baby is, traveling, the cost in the first place, because there's a lot of cost that comes with the baby, you know? And I kept asking myself, now I'm here teaching people. You know, you even look at those students and sometimes you're angry at them, and you're being called that, oh, the baby now is almost passing out, and there isn't anything you can do. What if there is like a baby center, a daycare center for people to even breastfeed, especially the first few months? I would say the first 6 months are very critical. And if that can be added to 1 year, very critical, because the baby needs to attach with you. And let me tell you, some of the issues you're finding today, attachment to relationships, insecure attachment, it's because babies no longer bond. Our time, we were bonding with our parents very well and for a long time, because most of them were stay-home moms. But right now, you find there isn't enough time for a mother and a baby to bond.
Someone will argue the high cost of living does not even give you the chance to do that. You really have to be out in the sun and the hustle and bustle of
that
life.
One I don't deny. But let me tell you, you lose your baby now, especially the first. We normally say the first, if possible. The first 1 year, you should bond very well with your child. If possible, the first 10 years, if not 6 years, then there'll be no one time you will feel you're detached from your baby. How many of us feel like our mothers are not our mothers? And especially this generation.
And the health are actually the mothers.
Yes. Why are we having somebody saying the dorm mother or the house mother that I have been given in high school feels more like a mother than my own mother? You know? So there are very deep discussions that I would like people to understand here. Why do you have a son who feels like their mother is not their mother? What happened? So we need to rethink the way we allow mothers to bond. We need to reorganize. Like the Teacher Service Commission, one of the things they know is that the minute I'm out for 4 months or 3 months, there'll be a teacher who will take slightly a higher load, but just for a short time. But I will have enough time maybe to be with my baby. If it's the father as well, when we talk about the 21 days, 3 weeks, these are the people who are really needed, by the way. Before you give birth, after you give birth, this person should see what you go through. But majority of them,
that's not the case.
That's not the case. And these are the people, again, later in life, they will say, you and your children, you're always against me. What's it? They always tell you stuff and they don't tell me, because there is no bonding. So let them know also it's not just another holiday. You need to bond with that baby, and especially the later period of getting a baby, somebody's spouse, those who are blessed with spouses, should be there, including even touching the belly and getting in touch, because that child, it's only because they've not come out, actually.
But communication does happen.
It does happen.
At that stage.
Very deep, very intimate relationships. So let men know. It's not about having complaints that there's a new person, a new being here who's come between us, crying all over. I know there is a hormone that men don't have in plenty, and we do have, oxytocin, the nurturing hormone. We have it in plenty, and it increases after you get a baby. And men can also activate it by being with you, you know, seeing your struggles, seeing your smiles as well, and being there with that baby.
I hear you.
Let them not run away. Yes.
You've really touched on a number of issues that I want you to elucidate a bit further. First, you did talk about the bonding period. Either the first 6 years or the first 10 years. But I just did juxtapose that with the fact that when you look especially at where we are, even just as a country, and even globe as a whole, we're talking about recession as a globe, is a country high cost of living. And so one would argue, I mean, I am looking for the well-being of this child. And given the example that you gave, especially for those that are single parents, regardless of circumstance. So then at what point would you bring the help, and how would you balance, you know, giving that care as a mother for this period that you're talking about as a psychologist, and also having the help on board to help you in areas where you really can't quite do the most?
Now you're talking about a single mother, right? Specifically. Now, these ones are the ones I tell you have to be very good, very smart, very wise when you bring the help on board. Because you also need to take care of yourself, take care of them. Because when you have a single mom, especially those who had difficulties maybe giving birth, those who are left when they didn't imagine they would be left, now it's like you have double tragedy to deal with. And here you are with
you didn't prepare for that at that point.
Yes, very innocent. Gifts from God. And then you have this house help that you ignore because you're paying them. You will have it rough. And I've had people, and I really celebrate them, I know they are watching us, who've been with house helps, who came in, they even got married in that family, they have their own children, and they treated your children well. I would also let the house helps know, when you treat somebody else's child well, you as also somewhere, God has a good plan for your child. And their children have kind of an identity and an attachment that is solid. But you realize majority of the house helps we are getting today, well, people say they are training them. I don't know, training them on what? Because if they do not have training, especially on attachment, there is one theory I teach in my unit child and adolescent counseling called attachment theory. That if I don't learn to attach securely, then I'll attach to anything in this world. So if this house helps also, the single moms, especially those who will afford to pay one, it means they have a thriving career. Let these girls also have some basic education, or you also get some basic education on child and development, so that you can actually assist them to assist your child. The other thing I would say is that separate your personal issues from your parenting, because if you mix the two,
How possible is that?
It's possible. Just take care of your mental health and wellness. Simple and clear. And it's possible. I'm saying that because I know it's possible. Yeah.
From experience?
Oh, yes, from experience. Because if you mix the two, you have workplace stress and then you bring it to your baby. You have social stress from wherever, you bring it here. You have marital stress, you bring it to your baby. You're damaging a human being that is so innocent. And that will give you a headache later in life. And you will now bring them to us and pay us a lot of money to take care of your mess.
I'm interested to know, I mean, you just said from personal experience, and I'm interested to know how, first of all, what this experience was and how you dealt with it. Because I can tell you for sure, Dr. Susan, sometimes it is so easy to say, manage your mental stress. But then the practicability of managing that, or just separating those personal issues from family, is not really one of the easiest things to do.
I guess it's awareness and a lot of education. I don't shy from sharing actually my own personal experience because I was left when I didn't even imagine. And I had this handsome, boy that God gave me, right? And one of the things I know is that it was difficult. And I really celebrate my sister Rose, because she came in when I had issues with house helps. And she looked at me, she knew the story, I was not talking about it, but they know, of course they know. They know they would see you with the father to have been, and now he's no longer visible, so it has to be you. And it was also not easy when I was a teacher, because there is also a lot of judgment when you are a single mom in this continent, let alone this nation. In this continent,
in Africa,
of course, there are lots of judgments, and of course you have to fight hard. So when my sister saw I was struggling, she came on board, and you can guess what my son said on his graduation day. Me, I'm a super man. I have two mothers. I have two mothers, this one and this one. You can imagine if I didn't have my sister. The house helps that I was getting, some, of course, everybody has their own personal needs, struggles and all that, but she came on board. Now that's family. What if I didn't have her? What would have happened? And that's why I'm saying now, we need as family to love one another. Don't laugh at me because I've gotten a baby and you're like, later jipange, and this child, you never know who they are going to become. That's what I've always said. You never know. The other thing I like to say is that the employer, please make the space comfortable for these moms. In our institution, by the way, I joined Nazarene when I was already a mother, because afterwards I don't think you would be allowed to work there anyway. I don't think so. If you get a baby outside wedlock, and it's okay to have standards and all that. But you can imagine now, if somebody, by whatever way, they got pregnant in such a workplace with policies and all that, what would happen? Do they quit their job? So I know there are also very high demanding employment spaces where if you get pregnant, you start preparing to quit because they see how much they are going to lose. And they
look at it in terms of profits.
So do they look at you as a human being? No. You're just but some capital. You are capitalized.
But someone will argue this employer, this is their business.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be having a human face. And I'm telling you where we are heading. Where we are heading is that if organizations don't change, you will find yourself being phased out. Why? People have become aware of their rights. And they are shouting about their rights at the rooftops. The other thing, don't forget, the world of business, the world of work is changing. So we are having more organizations that are seeing a universe that is getting digitalized. People will be working from home. And when they start working from home and they create their spaces working from home, you're not going to get there.
But Dr. Susan, talk to me even just now that you touched on employers. How then would even organizations or employers as a whole manage balancing the aspect of the human face and the business aspect? Why I ask this is because over time, we've even covered stories of people who, during maternity, they were sent letters and told them, letters that did terminate their employment. And some, even whilst they are going to this maternity for maternity, they're not even sure if they will come back. And even if they do, they're not sure if they'll get the same position that they left while they went to give birth. Some would even say they're scared of getting pregnant. So then how would an organization, a business, balance this aspect of this career woman who's wanting to be a mom and the business aspect of this organization?
For me, I always say it's candid conversation. When I say candid, that I'm genuine as an employee, and you as an employer, you're also genuine. And so we put everything on the table.
Genuine in what capacity, first of all?
Authenticity. Let me just use the word authenticity. Because this idea of playing cards against each other, me the employee, I play cards because I want to reap from you, my employer. I want to tell people you can never even be blessed. You will never even be happy in the inside. There will always be a conflict that I played on my employer. The other thing, it is the employer. They know probably how much you have invested in that institution. They know, unless they want to turn a blind eye. And then when it's time for you to enjoy this gift of motherhood, they don't want to give you an opportunity to do that. You know, and by the way, like I worked with one of my colleagues. I know she wouldn't be shy because she was younger than me by far. And right now she's pursuing her PhD in Biola University, United States of America. Rosemary Mukona, if you're watching me from the USA. Okay, I loved my institution for one thing, because they gave her even an opportunity to further her studies. And they even allowed her, even now I think if she wants to supervise, even teach, she can teach from wherever we are, because African Nazarene University, we are like 80% IODL. Yes, we do a lot of IODL teaching. But I remember she would get a baby after another, and she told me, Susan, I love babies. And you can see she loves the babies. But it wasn't kind. I had to really stand by her, because the employees would say, you just, the only thing you know is to
get pregnant.
Get pregnant and add babies.
So what the employer and the colleagues would say that.
That's why I'm talking about authenticity. If you went to the department and found how much you used to give to the department, maybe only the department chair or the dean of the school would know. So that's what I'm saying. When the HR is seeing me going for many maternity leaves, what is my boss? What is my immediate boss feeding the HR with? Because if you're telling the HR, wow, look at this person's productivity, even if they went on maternity leave, I'm telling you, whatever they've given us, look at even the students, look at their evaluation, look at their feedback, right? What about where you are maybe the marketer, and the organization has made sales, you know, good marketers will make an institution really go high. What about the time now? You will start having your children when you'll think, I need to be aware. This is where I say, if I am authentic as an employee, and I plan especially on having babies, can I also put it in a plan, right? Can I also like prepare somebody else who is gonna take up after me, such that I also don't disadvantage my employer, because there are also people who say they will know who I am when I leave. They will see the gap. That's not the way we need to work. Because if I am authentic and I value my employer, I also need to think about them. And I also like to tell people on the other hand, even if it's not a fair game, can you be fair to yourself? And love yourself.
You know, you just said, for those who say they will fill my gap, and in my mind is just clicking that, you know, in this life, no one is indispensable. There might be people who may not do what you do exactly like how you do, but no one is indispensable. And
let me tell you what we are doing at ANU. Allow me to brag a little bit. We are thinking of the 21st century student projected to career. And we are actually having five modules we have prepared for ex-college. Because if you tell somebody today, take a little bit of your time, settle after 30 years, you're not so sure whether they'll have the energy to take care of their children or their babies. you're not so sure whether they'll have even gotten a job. So we are thinking, how do we take care of you, even mentally? So in the many other units we have, we are thinking digital literacy, so that if you totally want to have babies, then you may need to choose careers that can favor you
to do that,
especially working from home. Oh yes, yeah. You can choose that, but are you equipped? Are you prepared? If in terms of mental health and wellness, we are asking, are you aware? Because self-awareness is very key. Do I know who I am? Do I know what I want? Can I have a vision of the kind of an employee I'm gonna be? If I am a woman, do I have a vision of the kind of a career mother person I'm gonna be? And so you project that in advance. Otherwise, when you get these shockers, like some of us got, I'm telling you, I almost left teaching. Because I
almost left this career now.
Oh yes, yeah. University teaching is good. I'm talking about the Teacher Service Commission. Where now, when you're a single mom, you want to rise up the ladder, so you try everything. You know, in this country, our days, education was everything. So if you have a master's, you know you can into the university, do part-time and all that, so that this child now who is your burden can have the best. Because the other thing I know single moms, especially those who are educated, they want to do is to give the best. Maybe you had a plan of 2 people working together, bringing up your children. Now that person is not there. It has to be you. And you already know what is good. I'm telling you, if you find single mothers working like hell, it's because they know you want your child, the one that also has a father and a mother, they are also competing in the same space.
They can get almost the same.
Oh, yes.
I hear you. Now, coming back again to organizations, do you think that also this is something that employers, organization can employ as far as even training is concerned? Because you just did say, you can assume, maybe this is a first-time mom, for example. They've finished their maternity. Let's believe that this is an institution that did allow them to finish. They're 3 months altogether. So now they're coming back to work. And you realize some of these roles that sometimes, just for a period, that which you used to do then, you may not be in that proper capacity to do them now. So this even trainings to prepare these career women, how to balance it out. Is it something that institutions, organizations can begin employing?
Let me tell you. Right now, if we have any employer who doesn't have a company mental health expert or even a life coach, is missing out big time.
This is within the company?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if there is that authenticity I have talked about.
Yes.
Because what we lack in big ways is authenticity. I can go to that company, they're employed by the company, they are my colleagues. And if they lack the professionalism, they lack that authenticity I'm talking about. The realness. You know, when you're a real human being, you will deal with that person as a real human being.
Yes.
So you can actually, as an institution, decide that before somebody proceeds for maternity leave, they are prepared. You know, they are prepared about the change and how they can adjust. When they also come back, because you come back, you find new things. The other day I was out for 6 months from the university, and I came back, I found other things, how we are supposed to load our exams. I needed a whole day to be trained, you know. That's just now leave. What about now this mother with hormonal imbalances?
You can imagine.
With the kind of, maybe you're torn between your baby and torn between performance at the workplace.
Because again, also, if you don't meet those expectations, someone may just be asking you out.
And I'm telling you, you will go. One thing I like to tell people is that any job where you are employed, know it can be taken from you at any one time. Any one time.
That's why I said no one is indispensable.
So how prepared are people for that?
I hear you.
And I learned that the hard way when I did employment detachment separation counseling for Kenya Railways when we had huge retrenchment. 2007. And the people that were telling me, I don't know how long I'm gonna last. So let the employer know that there are people who work for you. They are so loyal, they are so attached to you as an employer that if you just terminate them, you have killed them. And not just them, you have killed their families. We have so many mothers with young ones who have developed depression, let alone what we call clinically postpartum depression. But you now develop it after you have reported back to work because of what is happening at the workplace. Who cares? Who really cares about you? And so these are the candid conversations I'm saying employers and employees, especially the HR directorate, needs to look into. Do we know who is this mother who's just come back? How do we treat them? If there could be trainings that cover the whole of what women go through, the whole of what fathers go through, then I can imagine we could have optimum performance.
It's conclusive.
Production. Oh, yes.
And you just picked my mind because I was just about to ask you about the postpartum depression, and you just did touch on it. So then it means that all these issues put into one basket is what may lead to now what we call the postpartum depression. Issues not talked about, not dealt with.
You know, there is postpartum depression that can come naturally. And every mother, actually the first, you can talk about the first 40 days. If it extends maybe to 2 months, 3 months, you really need support. Because a lot of you has changed. Remember, you two were together. Now one is out. That is already a loss in itself. Because being together, the baby here, that's why they have a lot of separation anxiety up to the age of 3 years. They really want to be with their mothers, right? And that's where we are seeing fathers come in, especially if you have a husband who is in business and you are employed 8 to 5 and he is in business. There is a way probably he can organize himself and allow these chances of developing separation anxiety to be significantly minimized. So because his presence as a father, there's a lot when it's your blood that you can look around and see that it's not happening well for your baby. And this wife of yours has to work. The other thing I found in the States, because wherever I go, I think about human beings are living. I found there they will allow you so long as there is somebody logging in. You see, like the way children are taken to school very early. So this mama wakes up at 3 a.m. and she's in the car at 4 a.m. So that the child is in school by 6 a.m., especially in this Nairobi, if you had to hit the traffic jam. So if I am already at the workplace at 6 a.m. or 6:30, 7, my hours, if they are 8, they should be calculated as such. Because when I get in, I'm not just going there to wait until it is 8:30 or 9 for me to start working.
You'll get productive.
Start working, exactly. And that's where I'm talking about authenticity. Am I working? I'm just there
doing nothing. We have about 4 minutes to exit this space, and I wouldn't want us to do that without talking about positioning. So this is this career mother trying to balance career, could be also business and motherhood. How do they position themselves with all this, I should say, challenges surrounding even the workspace or the business premise, especially now after you've gone back to work, after your time of giving birth? How do you strategically position yourself to continue growing up your career, even as you take care of children?
Because we have seen them. We have great role models, I believe. And maybe to forward this discussion, you can have some of them. They've gone up, and you can pick maybe the space of a single mom and one who is married. And they've gone up the career ladder. You might be shocked the kind of support and the kind of level-headedness that they have. And that's what we call emotional intelligence, social intelligence, not forgetting they are also smart. IQ is also high. So you have that, if you know, I am going back to work, or I'm thinking of you are about to go for maternity leave and you're coming back, a plan is awesome. Just have a plan. And one thing you have to accept is that I'm giving birth. If I'm proceeding for maternity leave, a lot can happen. In fact, there are people who go thinking they'll have a normal birth, but they have a challenging birth. They think they have a normal baby, you get a special needs baby. I'm not saying you plan to get a special needs baby. Always pray and attract the best out of this life, and that's what you'll get. When you're going back, don't just go back to the workplace. That's why we need some support system at the workplace. Let them tell you what's going on at the workplace, so that when you're going back, you already know what you're getting into. And above everything else, take care of your mental wellness. Because when you are physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually fit, there is nothing in this world you cannot overcome.
I hear you.
Yes.
Good place to end it. Above all, take care of your mental wellness.
Exactly.
Having said and done all that, make sure somewhere up here,
Niko sawa.
uko sawa. Thank you very much, Daktari, for your time and for your valuable inputs into this conversation. Highly appreciated.
Thank you, David.
I have been speaking to Dr. Susan Gitau, who is a psychologist, and definitely what has formed center of our conversation is balancing career and motherhood, and what you can do out there as a career mom, as a woman, as a female wanting to get into this, space, just basically what you can do to balance that out. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya, from me and on behalf of the entire team. Asante sana. Till tomorrow, good morning.
Kupata maisha kama Skiza